I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic which stands one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Hey, good evening, everybody. Long agenda here, but the first thing, very important awards given out. Life-saving award and medal presented to Lieutenant John Norton by Chief Trezino. I just happened to be there with you that day, Lieutenant Norton, if you recall, and I personally was able to watch your acts of heroism. So Chief Trezino, take it away, sir.
Thank you, sir. Good evening, everybody. On July 13th, 2019, a female visitor was swimming in an isolated section of the Ramapo River in the town of Tuxedo. Unaware of the rocks below the water's surface, she jumped into the river and struck her head, her face, her back, shoulder, and arm on the rocks, prompting her companions to call 911 for assistance. Lieutenant John Norton and Officer William Hall, who are both members of the Regional Search and Rescue Team, were on duty and immediately responded to the location. Arriving to the scene and prioritizing the victim's safety over his own, Lieutenant Norton entered into the water and was able to reach the victim. He secured her onto a backboard, brought her to the shore, where Officer Hall and other first responders helped to load her onto a pickup truck, evacuate her to an ambulance exchange point, and ultimately transport the victim to the hospital for advanced treatment. Lieutenant Norton and Officer Hall, through their decisive actions that day, exhibited a foundational tradition of the police profession, selfless service. I am proud to present Lieutenant John Norton with this departmental life-saving commendation and Officer William Hall with this honorable service award to honor their deeds for displaying the finest traits of a Tuxedo police officer. Gentlemen.
Thank you, sir. Thank you.
Thank you. Congratulations.
Thank you, everyone. While I'm at the podium, can I do the quick departmental breakdown?
Yes, sir.
For the month of May?
Proceed.
All right, and then we'll go outside in our fancy uniforms. So for the month of May, the Tuxedo Police Department handled a total of 1,466 calls to service. These calls included, but were not limited to, the following: 13 motor vehicle accidents, which had 3 minor injuries and 4 serious injuries, where 1 patient was taken by med flight to the hospital. We had 17 animal complaints ranging from loose dogs, snakes, including rattlesnakes, and bears on residential properties. 152 summonses were issued by the Tuxedo Police. 26 traffic details were conducted, which included radar details in the hamlet, Eagle Valley, and on 17A. We also conducted multiple safety points, checkpoints throughout the town. Notable mentions: on Memorial Day, we had ceremonies and parade with traffic details that were completed without incident. And Detective Shiloh completed a school regarding police and social networking. Upcoming, we are excited that we're going to be restarting our commercial vehicle enforcement details. So those are going to be within the next couple of weeks. We hope to get that off the ground, and that will be a regular occurrence. So that's it.
Thank you, Chief. Where's Peggy? She's over there. Okay, next up, we have a presentation about Town of Tuxedo Community Power information, and that will be delivered by Peggy. So you guys could turn your chairs slightly to the left. You could see the presentation on the screen behind you.
Okay. Okay. Okay, can you hear me? Can you hear me? I have to mute here. I have to mute.
Do you
the
have, does she have a
laptop.
microphone?
Yeah, okay. Mute the laptop? Okay, is that better? Okay, great. Okay, I just want to say that presentation about the award is a hard act to follow. Okay, so I'm here this evening to explain a new town program. It's also a new village program. And there may be people online or here who live in the village because the information is essentially the same for both the town and the village. So for the town, it's called the Town of Tuxedo Community Power Program. It's a clean energy program. My name is Peggy Kurtz. I'm a community coordinator for Jewel Community Power, which is the program administrator for the program. I apologize to those of you who have seen the presentation before. There is a little bit of new information. The presentation will take about 15 minutes, and then I'm glad to answer any questions. Okay, so Tuxedo Community Power and the Village of Tuxedo Community Power are what's called Community Choice Aggregation Programs, or CCA for short. With CCA programs, municipalities come together essentially to create a large buying group through which residents and small businesses may purchase the energy for their electricity. These programs enable municipalities to leverage the buying power of that larger group. So in this case, it's over 1,000 households to negotiate competitive rates for electric rates for their residents and small businesses. Another way to look at it is that it shifts the choice of the default electricity supply from the state, which many years ago selected ONR as your electricity supply source, down to the left to make it possible for municipal leaders to make the choice that's right for your own community. So if you move into Tuxedo today, you will automatically be defaulted as a result of the state choice into ONR purchasing electricity on your behalf. Now the new default will be the town program. CCA programs were established in New York State by the Public Service Commission in 2016, and they're still overseen by the PSC. Just quick overview, some of the benefits include support for clean energy, competitive fixed rates, strong consumer protection, and more choice for consumers. In 2019, in response to climate change, New York State passed truly groundbreaking climate legislation that mandates an unprecedented transformation of the electric grid. The electric grid must be powered 70% by renewable energy by 2030. So that's only 5.5 years away. And by 2040, it must be 100% carbon free. It's pretty clear the state cannot meet these very ambitious goals, which will ultimately help to protect our own communities and our own families without action at the municipal level as well. So the program we're discussing today helps communities take a major step in the direction of meeting those goals. And in fact, it is considered by climate regulators to be among the most powerful climate actions a community can take. Nationwide and statewide, CCA is a growing movement. In New York State, it started with a pilot program in Westchester in 2016, and today over 2/3 of Westchester communities are in a similar program through something called Westchester Power or Sustainable Westchester. So in terms of how it actually works, ONR continues to be your utility. ONR continues to deliver electricity, repair and maintain lines, and bill customers. They are still the ones to call in the event of power outages, which should be no more frequent than before. What changes is the supply source for the electricity. We're just flipping the switch, but that power for the electricity comes from a source, okay? So now it will be more likely to be renewable energy. And you can see the breakdown between supply and delivery. You may not have noticed it before on your ONR bill. This is page 2 of an ONR bill. We all know there's gas and electric, but even within the electric section at the top, there are 2 subsections. So on the right, you see the delivery charges, and that does not change because ONR continues to provide the same delivery services, including repair, maintenance, billing, et cetera. What does change is on the left. You can see this is a bill from Rockland Community Power from a few years ago. You can see if you look within the red box that I dropped in there, that's not usually there. You can see up at the top, it says electric charges, certain number of kilowatt hours at a certain rate. And then below that, you see your electricity supplier, Constellation New Energy CCA. It happens that the supplier this time will be Constellation also. I believe it should say Constellation CCA. It don't, then below it says messages from your electricity supplier. I don't know if that message will be there this time too, but that's where you will see the change. So now let's talk about the rates. This is, you should have gotten a packet if you're eligible, and I'll talk more about who's eligible and who's not, and why you might not have gotten a packet. But if you are eligible, you should have gotten a packet in the mail from the town or from the village. There are two different rates within the town program, and they're the same within the village program. So on the left in green with a yellow with a gold star, you see the default rate, and that is 50% New York State renewable, and that's a fixed rate. And I'll talk in a minute more about what does it mean 50% versus 100% versus what you're getting from O&R. In the middle, so that both the town and the village are also offering the option to opt up in quotation marks, and that's to 100% New York State renewable. So if you do nothing, then you'll be on the 50% New York State renewable. But you can opt out. You can make those changes whenever you want to. You can do it now, or you can do it later. You can go back and forth. So for anybody who's on the phone, the 50% rate, which should be in the mailing that you should have gotten if you're eligible, is 11.72 cents per kilowatt hour. And the 100% is 12.939 cents per kilowatt hour. On the right, you see the gray column. That's the utility price. That's the trail. It looks a little bit different in the mailing, and I can show you what the mailing looks like in a minute. What you're seeing here is the trailing 12-month average from May of last year through April of this year, and that is 8.752 cents per kilowatt hour. So clearly, a few big differences, okay? One of them is that's a variable rate. That's a really important difference. It's a variable rate. It fluctuates from month to month. So nobody can tell you what it's going to be over the summer. It's probably going to be higher over the summer. And, let alone next year. Okay, there's so many variables. Another key difference is the amount of, is the renewable energy. So you have 50% or 100% within the town program. You can see in the default rate is 50% for the town and the village program. O&R, the amount, the percentage of New York State renewable to compare with the 50% and 100% is 6.45% New York State renewable. 6.45% New York State renewable. I believe there's more that's out of state, but altogether it comes to about 13% in their latest environmental disclosure form. So that's a big difference, going from 6.45% to 50% or to 100%. Also, in regard to the rate itself, once on the CCA rate, you can still check the O&R rate by Googling price to compare, ORU price to compare, or searching. It's a little hard to find on their website. I believe we're also going to post it on the webpage for the town and the village program that will be posting that comparison. So just want to go back for a minute. So again, there's 50% and there's 100% as another option for you. So now I just want to explain what the difference is between those two. So I'm going to read you a statement, a formal statement. It's kind of what I need to be able to say on this subject of what is 50%? What does that mean? Okay, what is 50% of your 50% means 50% of your electricity supply is matched by renewable energy certificates provided by New York State, or RECs, provided by New York State renewable power plants, in other words, hydropower, wind, or solar. I believe it's primarily hydropower and wind. The remaining 50% is matched by RECs sourced from other U.S. renewable electricity sources, in other words, from out of state, but are not tracked or verified by the New York State Department of Public Service. The 50% renewable option is not counted as 100% renewable by New York State, and that's because 50% and out of state. 100% renewable option means 100% of your electricity supply is matched by renewable energy certificates or RECs provided by New York State renewable power plants. In other words, hydropower, wind, or solar. And I can explain any of this more in the Q&A. So you should have gotten a mailing from the town recently if you're eligible. So on the left, you just see what the outside of the envelope looks like. You should see Town of Tuxedo or Village of Tuxedo Power, and you should see the town or the village logo. And it did say at the bottom of the envelope, do not discard, important notice regarding your electricity rates. And then you see the letter. And obviously it's the same for the village, except that it has the village logo at the top. And you see essentially the same chart, which I can come back to and explain a little bit more later on if you want. And it does explain also that the O&R rate average, the trailing average from last year, is not indicative, the third paragraph down, is not indicative of O&R pricing going forward, as O&R supply pricing is variable and may change, it generally does change each month. And whereas the program rate is fixed, okay? And also the other difference is the renewable energy. It says here you will pay a premium for this product. That's confusing to people sometimes. It doesn't mean you're going to pay an extra fee. It just means that unfortunately, the standard energy, which is largely based on fossil fuels, is unfortunately still less expensive at this time. Okay, I'm sorry. Okay, this is a picture of the opt-out card, and I'll talk more about opt-out options in a minute, but I just wanted to show you a picture of it. Well, you have to, if you want, obviously, we hope you'll want to stay in the program, but if you do want to opt out, oops, I don't know how that happened. Where is it? Yeah. Okay. If you do want to, all you have to do is put the date on the card and check one of the boxes, stick it in the postage paid envelope, stick it in your mailbox, you're out of the program. Okay. Eligible customers, it is an opt-out program, so you will be enrolled on an opt-out basis, except for customers who are not. Is there a way to stop you're not sure? Okay, it's okay.
First for me.
Okay, okay. Here you see the list of customers who would not have gotten the mailing because they're considered not eligible. So probably the largest category is O&R customers who are already contracted with a third-party electricity supplier or ESCO. Customers who have placed a block on their account, you might have done it even years ago and you might not even remember that you've done it, and customers on time of use accounts. These three categories actually can opt into the program if they want to, but you would have to unblock your account or unsubscribe from your ESCO account. You'd want to find out first if there's, check that there isn't an exit fee before you do that. And customers on time of use accounts, it's probably a minority. I'm glad to answer more questions about any of these in the Q&A. The last two are just considered not eligible. Demand customers, these are usually larger commercial accounts, not eligible. Home Energy Assistance Program or HEAP recipients, also considered not eligible. Okay, eligible customers, as I mentioned, will be automatically enrolled unless they take action to opt out before the program begins. Okay. Let's see. Okay, so you should have already received that packet. There are three ways to opt out. Again, we hope you will want to stay in the program because of the benefits, but we make it easy to opt out if that's what you prefer to do. So we've already talked about the opt-out card that you should have received. You can also opt out online, or you can call the helpline Monday to Friday, 9 to 5. If you reach them out of hours, that's fine. Just leave a message. We'll call you back the next business day or the next day if it's still business hours. You will believe you'll need some kind of number when you call or when you do it online. You will need either the number that appears on the card in the upper right-hand corner. It's called a pre-enrollment ID, or your account number. Sometimes they can still find it with just the address if you call. Okay. Sorry. Okay. You've already received the packet. The last day of the initial opt-out period is July 4th. I want to emphasize anyone can opt out at any time. There are no exit fees. You can opt out, you can opt back in, you can change your selection, all of that with no fees. The difference between the initial period and opting out afterwards is that, or making any other choice afterwards, is that it will take one billing cycle or possibly two, depending on when your billing cycle falls, to move you back out of the program once the program launches. Program actually launches August 1st, and then after your next billing cycle after August 1st, you should see the new information on page 2 of your bill in the place where I showed you on the top left-hand side. Okay, now I'm going to introduce another factor here, and that is community solar. Both the town and the village are offering community solar to residents and to small, I think to larger businesses as well. This is not restricted to small businesses. So whether or not you realize that we are all making one choice from each column. This is kind of like a menu in a restaurant. You're making one choice from column A and you're making one choice from column B. Okay. So on the left, you see in orange, you see the electricity supply. That's what I've been talking about until now. I want to emphasize, before I start explaining a little bit more, I want to emphasize community. I'm going to be talking about community solar now, just for a couple of minutes. Community solar and the basic program, the electricity supply program that I've been talking about until now, these two programs, it's not, you don't have to make a choice between them. You can do both. They don't duplicate each other and they don't conflict with each other. I realize it is, I'm seeing some confused looks. It doesn't, I'll explain more in the Q&A, but I'll try now. So electricity supply is what I've been talking about until now. So you could stay with, you can take any choice from that. Oops, what just happened? Sorry.
I
Oh,
don't know why
the
it's showing
Zoom went down?
captions. Yeah, sorry.
Oh, that's okay.
I just share again.
Okay, so I have to,
Expand that window.
okay. Okay, great. So whether or not, so in column A, we've been talking about electricity supply until now. So until now, you've been on Orange and Rockland, and you can choose to go back to Orange and Rockland if you want to. Some people are on third-party suppliers. You can always do that at any time if you want. And now where you see the asterisk, the CCA, that's the town and the village program. So you could choose to be in that. On the right-hand side, column B, you see solar choices. You can have no solar. That's fine. That's one of the options. You can put up solar panel, or maybe you already have solar panels on your house or your business, or you can participate in the community solar program. The only thing you can't do is you can't do both number 2 and 3 on the right-hand side, because when you participate in community solar or you have solar panels on the roof, you're benefiting from a small, from subsidies from the state, from small credits. So you can't do both of those things because that would be double dipping. But you can do CCA, number 3 on the left-hand side and number 3 on the right-hand side. They don't duplicate each other and they don't conflict with each other. You're adding on support for new renewable energy projects. You could participate, you could do number 3 and number 1 on the right-hand side. You can go back to O&R and do number 3, community solar. You could do any of the, just pick one from column A and one from column B. Okay. Okay, so how does community solar work? Basically, instead of putting up solar panels on your own roof, you're subscribing to a share of a solar farm or project. And that project is feeding clean energy. These are usually smaller projects, much smaller than the utility scale projects that we've been talking about until now. It feeds clean power into the grid and you earn credits on your electric grid bill. The solar credits then reduce your overall electricity costs by about 5%. It's just small discount. And that's as a result, again, of the state subsidies. Okay, the benefits, you get guaranteed savings off your monthly bill. There's no second bill. It's all on your O and R bill. You'll just see a little minus and you may see some abbreviation like CDG or something like that, but that's what that is. And there are no credit requirements. So now kind of summing up with just a few last slides, does this program overall impact the reliability of your electricity? No. The utility continues to deliver the exact same service, whether or not you participate in the program. You can always change your supply choice within the program. You can always opt out. You can always opt back in with no fees or penalties. Don't have to stay in the program. Can you participate if you have your own solar panels or you're already participating in a community solar program? Yes, you can participate in the electricity supply. You can't do both community solar and the solar panels. What happens when the program ends? You go back to O&R if maybe the municipality will want to renew its participation in the program. If not, then you'll go back to O&R selecting supply on your behalf. I'd like to end with some of the benefits: access to clean energy, the potential for cost savings, competitive rates, no individual contracts for electricity supply. There is a contract for the community solar, but there's no exit fees for that. You have to give 60-day notice. That's really more binding on the provider of the community solar. No exit fees at any time and strong consumer protection. And this is our contact information for more questions. And I'm glad to answer questions now too.
Anybody has any questions for Peg? Jerry?
I have a question, but I don't know whether it's for Peggy or not.
All right,
Okay.
hold on, Mary.
Okay.
You got Jerry up first. Go ahead, Jerry Matola.
I was just wondering when we're gonna get our letter.
Okay, so if you did, it's possible that the mail was slow. The mail it could be anything. But I guess I would go back to that slide that I was showing before. Let's see if I can find it quickly. Oh boy. So maybe you are either, are you on a third-party supply contract?
Yeah,
You are, okay. So that provides the opportunity to talk about that. So the largest category of people who did not get the mailing probably are on third-party supply contracts or ESCOs. And so you're considered not eligible as long as you're in a third-party supply contract. So you might want to consider, I don't know how important the renewable energy is to you. Are you on a contract with renewable energy? Does it have an exit fee? If it does have an exit fee, when does it expire? You could tell them that you don't want it to renew and then kind of mark your calendar to check on that. You might want to look at the rates, etc., all of that. But if you decide that you would like to participate in the program, what you need to do is tell them that you want to opt out of your current contract and then call us at that same number and opt into the program. And you can do that at any time. Yes.
See, the deadline is July 4th, I think I saw out there. I didn't get a letter. I've been a resident in Tuxedo since 72 and over.
So again, same, okay. So it's possible that the mail is slow. I think it was mailed last Monday, but it's still possible that it.
And I called to make sure that they have a letter being sent to me. Is there a way of getting that verified at the site, at the office?
Did they look it up for you to see whether you should?
I have nothing.
Okay, so most likely you fall into one of those 5 categories as well.
No,
So
I don't.
you don't have a third-party
No, not
supply
at all.
contract?
I'm eligible.
Okay, and you have not previously placed a block on your account?
Nothing.
Okay.
All 5, I cleared.
Okay,
Yeah.
you can call and just say, you know, whatever you want to do. If you want to change your enrollment or you want to opt out, or you can stay in it and try it. And you can opt out, you know, whatever you want to do is possible. It seems a little bit, maybe it's just a little bit delayed and you're still going to get it, or maybe
So
not.
what do you mean by account number? You said
Okay,
you have to
so-
have an account
so-
number.
I think strictly, sometimes it seems like they can do it with just the service address, but it should make it easier for them if you have your Oh, in our account number.
Well, that's different. I have the
Yeah.
owner account number, but I
Right.
don't have yours.
You won't have the
Okay.
pre-enrollment ID if you didn't
Right.
get, if you didn't get the mail, clearly. Yeah. Usually it's one of those 5 categories. Sometimes somebody else in the house put a block on the account or sign you
Never,
up.
no.
No?
I'm an
Okay, what I would
owner
say to
user.
everybody is check page 2 of your bill and look to see if you have a third-party supplier listed there. Because I've talked to so many people who, when they look, they're like, oh, well, I don't even remember doing that, but they are on a third-party supply. Yeah. Other questions?
Dr.
I have a question.
Yes, yes.
You were showing, Nick Malstrari, you were showing the rates, and as you went through this, did I catch you to say that the carbon-based electric generation at this point in time is cheaper than the solar or what's being provided, or what you're offering?
Yes, that's correct. Yes, and that's generally true. That maybe with some exceptions in some areas, but that is generally true. That what they call standard energy, which is largely based on fossil fuels, meaning gas, and there's some coal in there also, is less expensive than the renewable energy, unfortunately.
The closing of the atomic energy plant in Indian Point, which I guess would have maintained a lower price per kilowatt hour. Versus all this new technology and solar, I would have thought by incorporating solar, wind, that the actual price per kilowatt hour would have come down when you incorporate them together. But what I'm seeing is that really the price is increasing. The price
Yeah.
to save the planet is a cost that we all have to share.
Okay.
And this is going on throughout New York State and all communities, that this project or this proposal
Mhm.
is to get everybody on renewable, so-called renewable energy. But can this renewable energy provide us energy 24/7 on cloudy days?
Mhm.
And I wonder at times if technology is ahead of reality.
Mhm.
When you're offering all these new technologies that haven't really proved themselves reliable. I mean, I'm not saying we should not have advancements, don't get me wrong.
Mhm.
But sometimes we're selling something prematurely, whether it be miles per gallon on cars, EVs. It's a move, well, it's a move to close the industry and a little more control of what goes on between you, me, and what I do in my house. But I would have liked to have thought that the actual price would have come down with all the improvements that's being done.
Mhm.
And you're gonna save me 5%? This is gonna swing me over 5% to go through all of this?
Well, again, they're two different programs that the town and the village are both offering. They complement each other, but yes, so there's a lot that you're saying in there, so I'm trying to reply to one or two
I mean-
parts of it, yeah.
You're selling me something, and it has to be to my benefit,
Mhm.
okay? My benefit, my family, the community.
Mhm.
And what you're selling is possibly a lot of restrictions for a promise of 5%, which, like everything else, goes up in price. I know, I would have thought with the windmills, the solar, and all these solar farms that are out there. I don't want to go too far off base
So
of what they're doing to the community with regards to.
So wait, let me reply to a point that you just made, okay?
Yes.
That I think, so the price will not go up. What you see is what you're getting. So there are ESCOs or third-party suppliers, I'm not saying all of them, but some of them, that will bring you in at a low introductory rate. There's it's really egregious examples out there. They'll bring you in at a low introductory rate and then they'll raise your rates and it's just off the charts.
And you guarantee me
this-
that this is not gonna happen with your program?
Absolutely not. No, it's 16 months. It's a fixed rate. What you,
16 months?
yeah, what you see is what you get, and that's it, that's it. Well, you're gonna know when the program ends, you're going to get some kind of notice, whether it's a renewal or whether you're going off of the program, you will know. There's no surprises in this program.
Well, yeah, I'm kind of skeptical because, they have to offer you a carrot to get you into the program. And once you're in the program, things change.
No, things will not change. What you see is what I'm telling you is it is what it is. If you want to leave the program, absolutely you can't, but you're not being more restricted. All of the same choices that you had before are still there, plus 2 more additional choices within the town program.
If I could make a
Yeah.
point, because I think there's some confusion. What this is not a 5% reduction to your bill. It is a separate option to get your electric supply from a clean energy source at a different rate than you are paying Orange and Rockland, that currently is not a lower rate. It is not a 5% reduction off your bill.
But the
You
community,
tell me-
the community solar.
He's conflating the
community
two,
solar, I
and
know.
I just want to make it very
I know.
You're
clear.
telling me I should switch to a program that really would cost me more?
You don't have to,
You don't have
it's
to.
No,
optional.
but I'm just saying, I'm not saying that I have to.
Right.
But the program that they're offering is a program
Yeah,
that's more expensive.
Tuxedo is a climate smart community. We get points for
And
any
Mr.
climate based.
Salisbury, right now, it's more expensive, but
is,
it
yeah.
may change with O and R over the spring or the summer or the fall. And you'll be locked in to 16 months at the kilowatt hours they're telling you right
Or
now.
you could opt
So
out
O&R
now,
can
and then over
change.
the winter, if the price per kilowatt from O&R goes higher, you can then opt into the
Correct.
program.
And-
Or we could opt into a non-renewable energy pool, which would be even cheaper than O and R. But right now, that's going against the grain because we're trying to be in compliance with the 2030 mandate of New York to be energy efficient. So we're giving you an option to jump on that energy efficiency train.
I just,
Basically, you don't have to do it, but we're offering the option. I know unfortunately for most people, they probably didn't appreciate the fact that they got put into it without an option to join it. Rather, the option was to back out of it, but that's the way that the program works. I've opted out. If there's any, I know, but I don't know why you didn't get one. We'll figure it out.
I mean, I haven't gotten one either yet, but,
It's just a
Get the mail a
personal
little bit.
choice. It was never meant to
can call.
to
find
push
out
you
more.
into a
Yeah.
solution that you wouldn't agree with. So, yes,
Podium, please. If
Podium,
you're gonna
yeah.
have a question or anything, if you could please just go to the podium. This way you have a
Yeah, I just wanna
microphone up there.
mention, you-
People at home can hear you and they could also see you.
No, but
Thank
you,
you.
you are not locked in. The provider is locked in to the same rate. Yeah.
push the button, Claudia. Okay, go ahead.
All right, so I got a little lost between the O and R switch to the fixed rate and then the community solar. If you could circle back, because it seemed to me that, yes, I'm paying a higher rate if I go to the new option, but I could maybe recover some of that expense by adding the community solar. Could you explain that?
Sure, yeah. So we don't know that you're gonna be paying, we don't know whether it's gonna be a higher rate or not, because nobody knows what it's gonna, the program starts August 1st, and then you'll see, and of course, O and R's rates change month to month, so we don't really know. The community solar, I know it feels like it's doing the same thing, but it's not. It's really adding on support for more local and smaller projects. You're supporting it. It's roughly matching your energy use, but it's not replacing the energy that's for your house. I don't know how, it's a little bit, sometimes I say it's like taking classes in high school. You take an English class and you probably need to take a math class too. They're 2 different things. They're similar, but they're really not the same. I don't know if that helps. I could give a longer explanation if people want, but I feel like I'm going to lose people.
Well, we've had multiple meetings over this in the past night that this even happened on the last board watch. There's been multiple meetings and presentations about it, and I can only wonder how the people are surprised that we're doing this, but I understand you're not getting some of the emails or some of the snail mails. We'll work that out with Peggy and figure it out. In the meantime, on a town's website, there is, Marissa, there is on the town website a link to the power company, to the Juul Power Company, right? That gives you the information you need to do to opt out if you didn't get the card. So go on tuxedogov.org, look for that Jewel Energy and Tuxedo Energy.
The one issue with
Symbol.
that, because I was trying to do it today, you need the pre-enrollment ID number to do it on the website.
Okay,
But on the website, you
Yeah.
do need the pre-enroll, I know, that's because of DPS.
so is that a
requirement.
constant number?
It's DPS requirement, no. So really what you need to, if you did not receive the mailing, if you, yeah, first of all, I'm glad to take your information and contact.
So
you.
hold on, this
But,
number
yeah.
is a static number or is it changed for each customer?
The pre-enrollment ID?
Yes, correct.
No, it's individual for each customer.
Oh,
So if you didn't get the mailing,
Okay.
then you're probably not eligible for one reason or another. But if you want, I'll get your contact information and we can talk. But you can, for anybody who's listening, you can call the helpline number, which is again, 845-859-9099, option 1. Again, 845-859-9099, option 1. And it would be good to have your O&R account number just to make it easy for them.
Okay, so
And the
they can
speed
just
up,
simply
yeah.
call, give their O&R and address, and they can opt
The
out.
other
then.
thing you need is the name on the account. So for example, husband, wife, whatever,
Mhm.
Mary's got a question.
Mary Gretzer,
Thank you. I've been so polite and quiet. I also did not receive a mailing, only I live in the village, so I don't know what the village wants us to do.
it's the same as here. The village has subscribed to the same plan that we have.
And it's.
So it should be the same phone number.
Exactly. It's and the information is identical. So if you didn't receive a mailing, then I'd ask you to think whether one of those categories applies to you.
No, do not go into any of those categories.
Okay. So then you might want to call the helpline number for more information. Again, I'm glad to help you too.
Are we jumping the gun to do that? Should we give it a little more time?
You have until the 4th of July, Mary.
How about until the 4th of July, except that I'm guessing that you're not going to be moved into the program because you didn't get the mailing, but also that you can always opt out. But you can, it's just, if you want more information, then you want that information now.
I do not,
They opt
wa-
out
I
before
have
they
been
kill
with
it.
this since the first time the CCA was proposed here, and I have more information than I want already.
Okay, so then, do you want the number again?
No, I took it
Okay.
down.
Okay. So-
Okay, any more questions in the room for Peggy? Okay, how about in Zoom land? Any other additional questions? Okay, it doesn't look like it. Going once, going twice. Okay, thank you, Peggy,
Thank you.
very much.
Okay, thank you.
We'll be available to take your questions on this. Chris Casker is our representative on our town board. He wasn't able to be here this evening. Michelle Lindsay, I believe, Mayor is Michelle Lindsay on the CCA administrator for the village. So we will be able to get any answer to you as quick as possible. Janet, of course, I'm working with you. You're my mother-in-law. I'll take care of you. Kind of tied up on that one, right? Peggy, go ahead.
Yeah, I want to mention the community solar also. I know Michelle has the information about that, but we're working on that. And I think it will be posted on both the town and the village website as well, and probably emails going out too.
Okay.
Okay.
Thank you,
Yeah,
Peggy.
Sure.
Okay. Moving on, Andrew Arias will give the 2023 financial audit report. Hello, sir. You have
How
the
you
floor.
doing? Let's see. Are you allowing me to share my screen?
One second.
Do I have permission to share?
You do now.
Okay. Okay, here we go. Okay, so I'm just gonna go through a little bit of the town's finances for 2023. I do want to point out this is not the audit presentation. The town's numbers are pretty much finished, so everything you see in here will be what the numbers are. In order to actually finish the report, we need an actuary report for your retiree health insurance. That has to be in the financial statement. That won't affect any of your funds or any of your fund balances or anything like that, but it is a requirement that needs to be in the audit report. So actually, we're just waiting for the actuary to get us that report. Once we get the report, we'll be able to put it into the financials, which will change note disclosures, things like that, but it won't change the numbers that I'm going to be talking about tonight. So I just want to go through some of your funds, starting with your general fund, which is the main operating fund of the town. The total fund balance for the year decreased $1.11 million. And over the last 2 years, it's actually gone down $1.64 million. Now, this year, you actually planned the decrease. You had planned a decrease of 1.0 million, 1.09 million, 184,000 was the original portion in the budget you appropriated. And then throughout the course of the year, another 901,000 was appropriated through budget modifications for various large expenses throughout the course of the year. So the major reasons for the large decrease, there were some other lines that were over, but the real large ones are sort of listed there. There was a $350,000 legal settlement, 171,000 spent on the garage floor rehabilitation. And these were all items that were budget modifications were made for additional expenses that weren't originally planned. The Tuxedo train station, there was a portion of that expense that was covered by a grant that you received from Tuxedo Local Development Corp. But the uncovered portion was 134,000, so that also came out of your fund balance. And your mortgage tax revenues came in 167,000 below the budget. So obviously, if you're budgeting a certain amount, you're planning to spend that money. If it comes in way under like this, it's obviously going to drive your fund balance down. And then the initial 184,000, which if your budget had been exactly on target, you still would have used 184,000 of fund balance. That's what you were planning to use. So these items here make up that decrease of most of that decrease of 1.11 million for 2023. So your total fund balance in your general fund at the end of the year is $223,000. There's a couple of components of that. You've already used up 84,000 of that in your 2024 budget. That's how much you used to use towards the budget, so you don't have to levy as much taxes. And 73,000 is in non-spendable form. So that's in the form of prepaid expenses. So when you pay your retirement expenses, it's prepaid because a portion of it is for next year. So that is, even though it's part of your fund balance, it's considered an asset. It will be used up as soon as the year turns over. So really what you have left in your general aid fund at the end of the year is $66,000 of unassigned fund balance. And that's about 2% of your subsequent year's budgeted expenses. Now, state controller usually likes to say about 10 to 20% is a reasonable amount to have. Most municipalities will keep more than 20%. In towns, you don't have a limit. It's not like a school district where you're limited. So it's up to the board how much you want to keep in fund balance. You can see the trend over the last couple of years in your general fund. In 21, it was 55% of the budget, 34%, and now 2%. So it's a very low fund balance, unassigned fund balance in your general A fund at this point. So basically, I would just say monitor your budget closely going forward. As 24 goes, whatever you budgeted in 24, you certainly should be looking at those budget to actuals and should not be spending more than that was budgeted. If you do like you did last year and you come up with big expenses, if you have nothing else to fund them, you no longer have that fund balance to pay those expenses. So it's very important to monitor your fund balance as the year goes on. Here's a chart showing your general A fund over the last 5 years. You see you built up a nice fund balance there. Over the last 2 years, significant decreases in that fund balance. So really, the town needs to start working towards building up a little bit of a cushion in your general fund. And we'll talk about that in a little bit, a couple of ways you can do that in terms of working up that fund balance. Your general B fund, this is for the portion of the town outside of the village. Your total fund balance decreased $123,000. You had a planned decrease of $279,000, basically use of fund balance and use of your employee benefit reserve. So the general B fund outperformed the budget. Based on what you were planning to do, you actually outperformed it. Some of the items that contributed to that, interest income was over budget. Departmental fees were over budget. The employee benefit expense came in under budget, as did debt principal. So at the end of the year, some of those revenues coming in over budget, expenses coming in under budget, you were able to outperform your budget in the general B fund. The general B fund has a total fund balance of $2.35 million. 200 of that is restricted for employee benefits. and 98,000 is in non-spendable form, as I mentioned before, prepaid expenses. So that leaves an unappropriated fund balance in your general B fund of $2.05 million. So certainly a significant healthy fund balance in your general B fund, about 73% of your subsequent year's budgeted expenditures. This chart shows you the trends in your general Bs. If you probably all recall years ago, your general B fund was in a deficit, a very large deficit, worked its way out of it. And over the last several years, you've been building it up to a sort of a significant amount of fund balance in the general B fund. So sort of gives you a cushion there for any future expenses. Going through your highway funds, your highway DA fund, your total fund balance decreased $132,000. That one also, over the last 3 years, the DA fund has gone down $520,000 to fund balance. So it's currently in a deficit, the highway DA. The biggest culprit this year was $108,000 in equipment purchases that were not originally budgeted for, and they were purchased during the course of the year, and that drove the highway DA fund into a deficit. The money was temporarily borrowed from the highway DB fund to cover the expenses for the year. The activity was actually within the modified budget. You made the budget modifications, but you just didn't have the fund balance to be able to do that, to be able to spend that kind of money. The total fund balance at the end of the year is a negative 51,000. That also has a prepaid component, so you actually have a negative 59,000. Obviously, at 0% of subsequent years' expenses, you can see the trend there over the last several years. Back in 2020, at 53% of the subsequent year's budget, it was a very healthy fund balance. And each year it's gone down pretty significantly to the point now where you're in a negative area. So again, much like the general A fund, the highway DA fund, you should be monitoring very closely. As you go through the year, look at those budget to actuals. And you should not be, if you have a line that you need to make a budget increase, you should be taking it from another budget line, reduce another budget expense, or a revenue that might be over budget. You cannot be making any budget mods using fund balance at this point because there is none in the DA fund. The DB fund had a total fund balance, a decrease of 138,000. You had a planned decrease of 264,000, so you actually did outperform the budget. Repair expenses were about 74,000 under budget, and employee expenses were 36 under budget. So that's why, even though you planned a decrease of 264, you were planning to use fund balance for paving expenses in excess of your CHIPS revenue. That's what you were planning to do. But because some of your other expenses came in under budget, the fund balance only went down 138,000 rather than the 264. The DB fund has a fund balance of 432,000 with 5,000 in a non-spendable component. That leaves an unappropriated fund balance of 427,000, and that's about 52% of subsequent year's expenses. So although that has decreased over the last couple of years, it's still a very healthy fund balance to have at 52% of your subsequent year's expenses. That gives you a lot of wiggle room in your highway DB fund. And this is the chart on your highway fund. Pretty clear. Your DB fund has been pretty consistent. It went up and then it came down a little bit, but it's been healthy all along. And your DA fund has that over the last few years, dropping from, again, significant fund balance down to a deficit fund balance. So really very careful to watch those budget modifications, making sure that you have fund balance to make them. This chart is something you can look at if you want to look at all the funds together. It gives you the trends for all the funds. Really, if you look at it, although you have the big decreases in the A and the DA, your overall fund balance right now is pretty much about the same as it was in 2019. It's just sort of shifted from a large fund balance in your general A to a large fund balance in your general B fund. So again, the overall town fund balance is still is actually good, but you have a couple of funds now that really have either low fund balances or deficit that you have to address. And you can't just move money between funds so easily. So they have to be addressed individually going forward. This is your fund balance trends, each of the funds and what they did for the year, the operating funds. We talked about the reasons in the respective slides. Your refuse went down 61,000, but that was also a planned use of fund balance due to the fee increases. So you were planning to use fund balance. You expected that decrease for your refuse fund. But the other funds sort of, you could look at each one, how much each fund went down. Now, again, some of them, the general B, highway DB, that's fine. You should be using some of your fund balance when it gets to a certain level. But you certainly want to be careful about the general A and the highway DA and those big decreases. Just sort of going through them and summarizing, the fund balance is very low in the general A and the highway DA. So those are the two funds really. I mean, you should be monitoring obviously all your funds closely, because as you can see how quickly a healthy fund balance could turn into a deficit if you're not. But those two funds certainly in 24, as you look at your budget to actuals, before every board meeting every month, you should be looking at those lines. And if you're 6 months through the year, you should be at about 50% on a lot of those lines. If it looks like they're going way over budget, you should start asking questions and figuring out why that is. The refuse district appropriated $32,000 in the 2024 budget, leaving only $30,000 as unappropriated. So I just want to point out going forward, if the refuse district budget comes in pretty accurate, which it usually does, because the budget's a pretty simple budget, you'll probably only have about $30,000 left at the end of the year, which means you won't be able to appropriate $32,000 again. So as you go into the budget season for 25, keep in mind that that refuse district likely will have to be funded entirely with property taxes, and you will no longer be able to use fund balance. For the last couple of years, you had a large fund balance in there. You were using fund balance to sort of offset the costs. Going forward, though, in 25, you're likely not going to be able to do that. You're going to have to, perhaps you can, depending on how the year plays out, perhaps you could appropriate 15,000 instead of 32. So the tax increase is not quite as big, but something that you should be careful to look at when you're doing the budget for 25. Addressing your fund balance levels. When you're looking at them, just consider adjusting the tax levy between funds based on need. So when I talk about you can't transfer the money between funds, you certainly could increase your levy for 20. For instance, if the general A fund needs money, you could increase their levy by 200,000 and decrease the general B's levy by 200. That has no effect on your tax cap, because the tax cap has to do with the town as a whole. So as long as your overall tax levy is the same, it doesn't affect your tax cap. But you can, that's a way of transferring to where the money is needed, as opposed to where it has a big surplus. So you look at your general B fund, your highway DB fund, they seem to have money. So perhaps depending on how this year goes, if you feel you need the money in the A fund or the DA, you could levy a little more taxes in those funds and a little less in the other funds and use fund balance in the other funds. But I would certainly monitor those funds and see how they go. It is very, common for these funds, for budgets to come in, for expenses to come in under budget. You may find at the end of the year, the general fund recovers, $100,000 or something, or 200,000 based on what the actual expenses are. But as you go into budget season, that's an option for you if you're trying to get some money into those other funds. Remember, the general A and the highway DA are the same tax base, so it really doesn't matter if you're moving a tax levy between those two funds. It's the same people. Same with the general B and the highway DB. And you can transfer funds from the general to the highway. So again, you can transfer if needed from the A to DA or B to DB if needed. Now, it's not going to help you much in this case because the A doesn't have the money to give to the DA. But in situations where if the DA was low and the A had a lot of money, you are allowed to transfer money from the A to the DA. Again, same tax base, and you can move that money. You can't, however, transfer money from the highway back to the other funds. So if your highway has a high fund balance and your general doesn't, you can't transfer money the other way. And you certainly can't transfer between the A and the B funds. Okay, so it can only be from the A to DA and B to DB. So if you're looking at that as a way to, again, help with this fund balance issue going forward, if the A and the DA are still in trouble at the end of 2024, you're probably at this point, your best option is adjusting your tax levy between funds to build up some fund balance in the A fund. Now, in your last board meeting, you should have gotten my monthly summary for 2024. I did go through it. Your activity through the first 3 months is pretty much in line with the budget. So that's good to see. You're going pretty much what the budget was, and that's something you got to watch carefully throughout the course of the year. Give extra attention, like I said, to the general A and the highway DA. But as I do those analysis, I'll probably do another one for May and just sort of, go over some of the issues with carry, some adjustments. But you really want to make sure that those actual expenses are coming in line with the budget. One of the things on budget modifications, you always should be making those large budget modifications prior to any large unplanned expenses. So if you're planning to buy a large vehicle, look at your budget, make sure you have room to do it, and then make the budget mod and then do it. Don't buy the vehicle and then afterwards do the budget mod. You may turn out you didn't have the money to do it. So just be very careful when you're making big purchases to make sure you do those budget mods prior to the expense. I want to point out your Hamlet Sewer District in 2024. You budgeted the amount that was being paid over to Tuxedo Farms LDC per the special assessment. However, there are other expenses in the Hamlet Sewer District that now were not budgeted for at all. So just be careful when you're doing your 2025 budget. If there's going to be any expenses paid by the Hamlet Sewer in addition to what's being turned over to Tuxedo Farms, that needs to also get included in the budget. Now, the Hamlet Sewer has plenty of fund balance to cover those additional expenses, so it's really not, a major issue or anything like that, but you should really just be careful of that when you're doing the budget for the Hamlet Sewer District. But like I said, overall, right now, 24 looks like it's the first 3 months, the budgets look good, and it will just continue month to month monitoring that, but just be very careful with those, with the A and the DA funds. So if you're thinking about buying a piece of equipment at a highway DA, you might want to give it second thought unless you really need something like that. And if you do, perhaps issue debt for it, and then you can pay it off in annual payments rather than using fund balance. So like I said, once we get the actuary report, we hopefully can get the report wrapped up fairly quickly after that and get you the final audit report. But these numbers that I went over today are where the town is as of December 31st, 2023. So if anybody has any questions about these numbers, fund balances, perhaps how to address it.
I'm good. Guys on the board have any questions? Anybody in the audience have any questions? Yeah.
Just a question from Zoom. What's the difference in the tax base between the A and the B funds?
It's the people. It's the people that are
Right.
in the tax base. So basically, everyone in the A and the DA is the entire town as a whole, including village residents. Okay, anyone in the B and the DB is all the people that are not in the village.
Thank you.
That's the difference.
That's what you wanted? Okay. Any other questions? Thank you very much, Andrew. Appreciate
Okay.
it.
Not a problem. Have a good night. If any
sir.
questions, give me a call.
Okay, thank you.
Take care.
I think we should point out that that was the 2023 findings. We're operating off the last board's budget at this moment, so we're kind of in austerity, as you can see, for the A fund. We've done some major changes since we came into office, such as a very, very stringent procurement policy, which we were critically missing. An investment policy, we've split our funds up between New York Class and CDs at Chase, correct, Carrie? We're getting good rates of return on those, so we are making some revenue out of those investments, which was a result of Andrew's consultation and our finance committee, which consists of, now it's just Gardner. It's Gardner Hempel is helping us on our finance committee. I want to give him a shout out because he's been critical to helping us coming into office in January, understand why we were in such a deficit and what to do about it. So,
And being strict on all
Right.
purchases across the line. It's kind of hard to do modifications at this point, coming into a fiscal year out of that. So we're trying to stay strict as possible and still offer things.
yeah, I'm still trying to find a way to pay for things like recreation, for example, that took a big hit in the budget and kind of in austerity, but we're finding ways to make things happen. And that's what we do, right? Okay, moving on. The next presentation has been postponed until, Deirdre, until the next meeting?
No, till July.
Okay,
But,
until July.
I will tell you that we do have a report that we've circulated to the board and any comments on that? And they'll submit a final report.
Okay, very good. Department updates. We'll start with recreation.
Hey, everybody, a busy month. We've had a fantastic day at the pitching derby at the Watchtower. Thanks to Ray and Brian over there. They do such an amazing job hosting us every year. Big spread of food and It's barbecue. It's just a great day, and we had over 85 participants this year. Thank you to Maria May, who's always there helping out. I couldn't have, done all that it took to get the day going without her. And Ganel as well was there helping all day, and John. Our members of the Parks and Rec Advisory Board were always there to help out. Couple other things, we had a music show for children at the train station the other day. Name was Maddie Rocks. I thought it was a very entertaining show. We had a decent turnout. About 15 kids and their parents. Everyone there really enjoyed it, thanked us for hosting it, and hope to, continue to do more. Our camp is coming along, our registration's approaching 70. We have our staff meeting tomorrow night. And again, camp dates are July 8th to August 9th. And all is going well there. The Office of the Aging, they are June 18th is the start date for their next class that they're offering. We'll be at the train station. It's called A Matter of Balance. Last I checked, there was one spot left, which is good, that, the town is, seniors are filling it up. The senior game days, we're still doing on Mondays. Only 2 people showed up today. So Linda Palick and I are, gonna discuss if we want to take a break for the summer. And chair yoga has 2 more sessions for the seniors at the train station. There is no chair yoga this Wednesday. There was a conflict with the instructor, a medical issue with her mom. So the last 2 dates for this session are June 26th and July 10th. There's no yoga on the 19th due to the holiday. What else? The advisory board continues to meet monthly. We are working on activities for teens, and we will start planning the fall festival, which will be on October 19th. We have a link on the town website to join the Parks and Rec mailing list. You'll get notifications for upcoming events. There are also links to volunteer at these events. That's on the website as well. And a reminder for more information to join our Facebook and Instagram pages, Tuxedo Parks and Recreation. And John Sandak is here with Maria to talk about something he'd like to start for the team.
Good evening, all.
Press the button, John. Thank you.
Good evening, everybody. How are you tonight? So my name is John Sanak. I'm part of the Tuxedo Parks and Recreation Department. And I'm here tonight to seek approval for a baseball summer rec league that I would like to propose in front of the board. It's a really good program. There's not a lot of things for our teenager children to do these days over the summer. And I want to get them active and away from technology.
I hear you.
Let's get them out. One of the best benefits about Tuxedo Park is, and our whole area in general, is we have property, right? Not a lot of places have a lot of property that we do. So we're very fortunate in that sense, where we have Murphy Field, Quarry Field, where we could get these children out during the summer to play baseball. All right, I will run the league. I have submitted multiple requests to reach out to people in the town. Right now, we're only targeting high school children. So that's kids going into 9th grade, and that's aging out at the 12th grade level right now. Okay, so what I'd like to propose is that maybe we can put in an opportunity to ask to seek to have Murphy Field and Quarry Field available at my leisure. It would cost minimum amount of money. All we are requesting is $400 for the season. That's all I need. We have been granted by a town board member, Rick Marsh, who has gifted us 3 dozen baseballs, which is all we need for this season. And we are trying to inquire and put out a bid and ask for donations for catcher's gear for 1 set. And that really is about $299. But if we don't get it, we may need to put in for other things, such as a catcher's mitt and things like that. So that's all I need. It's a really good program. I've run it many years before. And how I do it is I pick 2 team captains, and then they pick their team members, okay? And then they run the full lineup and the full day. I stand behind the pitcher's mound and I umpire it. And then I put 2 kids that are, their team is up in the field at first base and third base, and the kids love it. It's a blast.
So I would ask if we can maybe put something in their budget to allocate $400 to run forward with this. And I would ask for your approval as a board to maybe start this program. I'm looking about getting it running within the next 2 weeks. Games will be held on Friday afternoons and Saturday mornings. And I have an opportunity for Game Changer. If you don't know what Game Changer is, you put in kids' names, and all they do is when I schedule a game, a parent just has to click a button, yes or no. We have right now about 16 children at a Tuxedo. I have sourced some Suffern kids as well. If, for those of you that do not know, Suffern Little League has graciously opened our Tuxedo up to play in their league because Tuxedo could not field a team at one point, and we still cannot. So any of those kids, I'd like to welcome in. And there are some from neighboring communities as well, such as Ringwood and Greenwood Lake, that I'd like to bring in as well. Because here's the thing, as the summer goes on, a lot of kids are gonna be on vacation. So in order to play a game, you need 9 people on each side. So I don't know who's gonna show up. And if more show up, then we can offer 2 games, 2 sets of 9s each time. So that is what I'm looking to do, and I would hope to get your approval and blessing to move forward with it, because I'm very, very excited about it. And from the kids I've talked to, they're pretty pumped about it as well.
John, one
Yes.
thing too, you mentioned the suffering kids, just to add a little validity to
Yeah.
that, is Mr. Magada with the high school has reached out to Suffering for the modified team. My son plays on a modified team, and they weren't able to field the team. So he reached out to Suffering, and all the kids that got cut from their baseball team, Tuxedo offered up for those kids to play on Tuxedo team. We were able to field the team.
And that's the
They didn't
thing.
win very many, but
And
they
that's
had
the
a
thing.
team and they enjoyed it and they had a real blast. And these kids, some of them came from Slowisburg.
Right.
So they're part of our community. So hopefully we're able to
Yeah.
extend an invitation to them as
Yeah,
well.
I mean, these kids need to play. They need an outlet, and there's not a lot in this community for the teenage level children to do. There really isn't. We are looking at different outlets going forward on the Tuxedo Board and Rec Committee. But this is just to start it off and kick it off, and I think it's gonna be a really good time. Thank you.
John, I'd like to thank you for your dedication and what you do. You've been doing it for many years, and it's very much appreciated. And we will definitely get you going
Thank you.
if we have to finance it out of our own pockets.
Appreciate that.
Okay.
Thank you all.
Jim, just one thing for that, would we have to have like waivers or something for the kids to play in that or?
Do you have, you have a standard bracket? I don't know if you have a standard policy, if not, I can.
Just something basic, so this way we could have them sign off.
Just, but they assume risk.
So should we do a resolution for $400?
Absolutely.
All right, I make a resolution that we. Motion, sorry. Give Tuxedo Recreation $400 for the Tuxedo Baseball.
Second,
Any discussion?
none needed.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you all.
Thank you. Okay, Kathleen, any more? That's it? Rob Dolbaum.
I'll start with, we are starting to do major patchwork tomorrow on Eagle Valley. On Eagle Valley Road. We are shimming Eagle Valley Road, both lanes, both ways. Starting tomorrow. We put in 2 new manholes in East Lake Stable Road in the village to update our sewer lines. So that was a project we did. We have them in. Now we're ready to line that section. They couldn't line it, that section, and now we have that ready to go. We've been filling potholes up on East Monbassia and all over town. Apparently somebody's grandson had a problem on East Monbassia with a pothole. Happens. If you see a pothole, say something. You don't have to threaten the board and make threatening gestures. Just call and say, I got a pothole. We'll be there. Let's see what else. Getting some quotes for the roofs for the storm damage. We had a couple roofs blow off in that, more straight wind, microburst, hurricane, tornado, whatever they're calling it.
Perfect storm.
We had a few roofs that blew off, flew back, so I'm getting quotes on repairing them. We're out sweeping the roads. If your road has not been swept yet, somebody will be by. We'll get there eventually, do all the roads in town. So, talking about, we had a meeting with the DEC this morning. Rick was there, Dave was there, myself, Wesley Salas from the DEC, few of his gals. So we discussed what's going on with the dirt pile, what has to go on with the dirt pile, what has to go on with the dirt that's on site, and what has to go on with the rest of the project. So we had that. And while we were there, Dave told me to remind him about some Ticky Field, Murphy Field, Powerhouse concession stands and pavilions need new roofs. They all need new roofs. There's shingles missing on all. So that's something that, don't know what fund that might be in, but that's something you have to look for. And somebody to do them. What else?
May I add something onto that, Rob? I'm sorry to interrupt you.
Shoot.
So at Tiki Field, there is a press box there. The door at the bottom of the press box has been vandalized and it's hanging on by a thread. We need to get that addressed. There's nothing in there. I've cleared all that stuff out of there, but it needs to get addressed and get rehinged and buttoned up properly.
Okay.
So no other vandals can get in there. Thank you.
Duly noted. Thank you.
Put it on the list. We're surplusing a bunch of items. I know you all have the list.
That's on it.
Okay, and that requires something for you folks tonight to declare it surplus material, okay? And last but not least, two things last but not least, I can't read in classes. We put new locks on the, thanks, Sean. We put new locks on the inside of the bathroom doors at Murphy Field. There's always a problem, always a problem, always a problem. So now the doors do not have locks on them, but inside you go in and slide the lock and you're private. Now they can't stay locked when somebody leaves and locks the door and closes it. And then somebody don't get a call on a Sunday afternoon when somebody's having a party, I can't get in the bathroom. So that will not happen again.
Okay.
And the last thing is, and you folks have been kind of lax this year. There's an awful lot of mulch and compost over the quarter.
Are you saying there's no takers?
Season's almost over.
I would just like to add a little bit to the meeting which you discussed about when we met with DEC today.
Sure.
We did talk to the DEC. We talked to them. We told them about the financial burden that we are in right now and the moving the project forward. There was a discussion in our last meeting about there's a possibility of a fine of $3,000 a day if we don't do something with that. The DEC did grant us a little bit of a leisure of proceeding with it, giving us time to budget for it again for next year. They're not going to set the fines. There is a fine of $3,000 a day if they so choose to push it on us if we're not moving the project forward. So he did say he will give us up to next year to get moving back on the project. He understood our situation and he is willing to work with us. So we do have some time to figure out a plan B and hopefully get some, local people to help out or to get this into budget or some other options. But he did take that pressure off our back to have to worry about spending a lot of money trying to clean this dirt and move it forward.
Right.
So that was a positive thing out of today's.
Yeah, and we have access to, Senator Gillibrand sends us federal
We
grants.
still have a problem with the
opportunities.
huge pile that's behind it that over the
well, wait a
next
minute.
couple of years, we're gonna have to worry about, but
The
not
big
right
pile
away.
behind is not part of the consent order, correct?
Oh, yes.
Oh, it is?
Oh, yeah.
Okay, all right.
Which is
That's
gonna
just
be
the
a
whole
very large
idea,
project.
the whole idea of the big pile behind And Wesley was wrong when he was stating it today. But the whole idea for the big dirt pile behind is when we first started this, the DEC wanted us to haul everything off the site. Rocks, trees, everything. They told us to screen it because we're getting rid of that dirt and we're gonna have to pay to get rid of it. They told us to screen it so that you're not paying for rock and sticks and logs and
When you haul it,
everything else.
right.
So now it can be $55 a yard they were talking about. There's
He
100,000.
said from 100 to 50,
Right.
50's being generous
50's
at
being
100,000
generous.
yards.
But
So
you
that's
can, we've
The
had,
$5 million.
we've had this.
That we're gonna have to eventually get out of the town of Tuxedo.
But I've had discussions with people at landfills. And they will take it at the landfill for $6 a yard. But you still have to truck it there. So hence your $55 a yard. Right?
Cost,
You
yeah.
know, yes, and they use it for night fill, because I don't know if you see how a landfill works, but
Right.
every night they cover it over. And they would use that for night fill, not permanent cover.
Okay.
But that's down the road.
Okay.
So eventually it will be a burden of this town to try to get rid of that dirt.
Oh, it definitely will be on
Well,
our
what about
plan.
Didn't you tell me that we had an option to use it on some of the construction that's going on in Tuxedo Reserve for the roads?
If they will take it, if they will take it, and like he said today, which we didn't, well, we thought of, they're gonna wanna test it, they're gonna wanna make sure it's compatible. They don't wanna take dirt from a place that has a black eye, so to speak. So.
There's no chemicals in it. However, there is
Refuge.
Bottle caps.
bottle
Yeah.
caps. There's also natural stuff that breaks down. And if you put it underneath of like, they say we could use it if we wanted to put a walking track up or something, but you have to cap it. And to cap it over years, it's gonna start deteriorating and it's gonna collapse. And now your cap is gonna crack and you're just gonna have a problem. So to use it, it's a short-term use, and then you're gonna have a bigger problem down the road. So eventually, we are going to have to figure out what we're doing with 100,000 yards
120.
of quote-unquote contaminated soil. But good news is, we got a year before we have
We
to
gotta
get the other
stay.
20% screened, filtered, and put onto the other bottle.
And it was good to meet him because he didn't know what the new board's temperature was gonna be on
Right,
working
right.
together. So we gave him a nice positive vibe that he
Right.
really enjoyed, knowing that he knows that we really want to clean this up. What's it been? I mean, I started on the board 2014 and it was already there for 5 years, right? So it was a
A
mess.
little longer than that.
Yeah. Anyway, it's time to get it done. There's been a lot of stuff, but how many, just for the heck of it, how many yards you think are moved out of there? 1 million?
Oh, the yards that we've moved out of there? No, about 400,000
Okay, that you've done.
that we've done.
Okay, all right. Not counting what Benny had done.
There's probably another 100,000, 120,000 yards left to do.
We're on the home stretch, kind of. Okay, Marissa, anything?
No.
Carrie? Anything? Okay. Then we'll move on to public comments on agenda items. Where are we gonna start? Okay.
All right, I have a couple of questions to
Well,
different
we're taking
items.
comments only right now.
What?
Comments only today.
Yes, so the comment to the, I have to phrase it as not a question, huh?
Well, we can talk to you about your question, but not here. We're taking comments.
So I'm wondering, it's a question. So the item 4 and 2, I feel that they might be connected and just have seen the state of our finances. How can we afford to actually spend that kind of money? Yeah, so.
Well, just so it, because item 2 has come up quite a bit. Item 2 has nothing to do with all that. Item 2 is a general procedure of all municipalities. They do this usually.
Standard.
It's a standard operating thing. We go, we put in the resolution to exceed the tax levy just for anticipation.
Which
Uh,
we've never done.
We've never done. Doesn't mean we are. We haven't even started our budget process.
Yep.
It's something that all municipalities generally
Allows you
do
to
around reorg.
consider.
And we didn't have, being a new board, reestablishing, we didn't have the opportunity to do that. So we're doing it now.
Okay,
So
so 2 and
that's-
4 are not connected,
2 is a standard operating procedure of a municipality.
and 4 is, I'm
Is-
assuming the property right next to the
But
IGA.
when we get to
Before
that
when we
number
get there,
4, we will outline that entire thing.
But how do you comment on something you don't quite know what it is?
Well, that's true, but it's comments.
Well,
And I hear you.
I
hear
don't
what
think they
you're
have the
saying.
money to spend, is my comment.
Well, we're gonna talk about that when we get there.
And then
So I
building
know
and
it looks like on paper that we're broke in the A fund, and we pretty much are. But really, those items have no relevance to that right now because they're futures.
And then the
We're
other
investing
thing
in them
was,
now, and the encumbrance won't even come for a couple of years, so we have time to budget it.
and number 8 is, it seems that, are we losing a building inspector? Or are we gaining
All
some?
right, well, now I'm gonna have to answer the
We'll
question.
just talk
Yeah.
about it when we get there.
Yeah, and we understand your concern there. Anybody else with comments?
I have a-
Mark
I have a
Citron?
question. I'll get it.
Mayor Citron.
Oh,
Okay.
I'm sorry. Good. Okay. My name is Nick Balistrieri. I've been out of town, and I think I'm behind as to what's going on. I saw that 575,000 for the acquisition of land, and I don't know what that land is.
We're gonna discuss that when we get to that item. It's the Tuxedo Junction, 209 Route 17.
I hope it's a cash positive.
Well, we're gonna discuss that in detail when we get there. We just have to get to that agenda.
Okay, and when will that be?
When, excuse me?
When will we?
Hopefully in about 10 or 15 minutes.
Yeah,
Oh,
hopefully,
okay,
yeah.
Good evening, everyone.
Good evening, Mayor.
My name is Mark Citron. I'm the mayor of the village of Tuxedo Park. I thank you for the privilege of being able to address you and the board today. Before I discuss the reason I came here, I first of all appreciate the fact that the Department of Recreation is setting up a baseball league. And on behalf of the village of Tuxedo Park, we would like our youth to participate in that. And as part of that participation, we are willing to make a contribution for the equipment necessary for the players. So please contact me on that issue. You can reach me at Village Halls. The second thing I'd like to do is to thank the town of Tuxedo Police. We had a hit and run incident involving a serious injury to a pedestrian last week. And I want to thank the Tuxedo Police Department for assisting in the investigation and apprehension of the person that hit the pedestrian and left the scene. We appreciate that mutual aid and support we get from the town police. Very experienced officers assisted our team, and we are very, very grateful for what they did for us last Thursday. So thank you, Supervisor.
Glad to hear that.
Thank you to the Tuxedo Police Department and its chief. The primary reason I came here was to discuss the acquisition of the property next door, 209 Route 17. From the perspective of the village taxpayers, I believe that this is a purchase that should not go forward. And let me just explain why. In 2016, I believe it was the month of June, the property was purchased from Reynard Barone by Tuxedo Hudson Realty for $400,000. At that time, it was a functioning restaurant with a liquor license. Over the course of years, the liquor license lapsed and the restaurant, of course, closed and was essentially gutted. What we have next door is the shell of a building, an empty building. And that purchase price of $400,000 in 2016 has now become a prospective purchase price of $575,000. And to me, the economics of this particular deal does not make sense. I do not understand how a piece of property that was servicing the community as a restaurant and is now nothing but a shell can increase in value. and I question the economics of this particular deal. I also know, and it is my understanding, that over the years, the owner of that property, Tuxedo Hudson Realty, has made offers to various board members and prior boards to sell that property for approximately $400,000. It is also my understanding that the Tuxedo Hudson Realty Company had offered to sell that property at 0% interest for 10 years. I also understand that an offer was made that the Tuxedo Hudson Realty Company, in turning over the property to past boards, would even demolish the building at its cost. Now, if this purchase goes forward, we're looking, in addition to the purchase price of $575,000, we're looking at the cost of demolishing the property, and then we're looking at the cost of creating what? A parking lot. And especially in light of what we heard from the accountant, Andrew Arias, and words like austerity and dire financial situation were bandied back and forth this evening, I don't see how it's possible that this particular community, how this town can afford that purchase or needs that purchase. This purchase, if it goes forward tonight or at some time in the future, is a bad deal for the town, is a bad deal for the village, but is a great deal for the seller. And I stand here in opposition. Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor.
Well said. Well said.
Okay. Any more comments on agenda items?
Zoom in.
Okay, resolution number 1. Resolution to introduce local law amending the zoning map of the town of Tuxedo and providing for public notice and hearing. So there's a background story here, obviously. Mr. Horan, do you wish to describe the background for the town board and the public?
Certainly. So, this is a property that was purchased by, the Watchtower in August of 2021. At the time it was purchased, the property was zoned R2, low, medium density residential. The property address is 9 Emmanuel Drive, which was the house for residents of the Sisters Servants of Mary Immaculate, and they had used that as a religious use since 1939 when they first bought the property. At the time the Watchtower bought the property, it was a religious use. During the comprehensive plan update in 2018, this property was studied. The code noted that it was referred to it as a community use, and the plan indicated that it should continue as a community use. When the zoning was adopted, the plan also indicated that it should be zoned to conservation. But one of the things that the plan did not talk about, the comprehensive plan, was changing the religious use on this property. And based on how this property was treated under the comprehensive plan, the indication is that the religious use should have been continued. Because of the way the zoning was changed, it was rezoned into a conservation use, which did not permit religious uses, which it seems to be an omission or an oversight, because the comprehensive plan figure 5 specifically notes that it should be a community use. So the purpose of this legislation is to adopt a local law to change the zoning map, to change the zoning designation of this property from conservation district back to R2, which is what it was zoned as previously. And R2 permits the religious use that has existed on the property since 1939. Watchtower is seeking to construct a Kingdom Hall on the property, on the lower end of the property, and the existing residence that's at 9 Emmanuel Drive would continue to be there as well. So that's basically it.
Okay. So this is a introductory proposed local law that we will have to.
So would you like me to speak to the procedures going forward?
Yeah, sure.
So with respect to the adoption of local laws that relate to zoning, the board tonight will set a public hearing so that the public can speak for or against the adoption of the law. Also, this law gets referred to the planning board for their comments. It gets referred to the Orange County Planning Board for their comment and review. And because the property abuts the town of Ramapo and the Rockland County line, it also it's sent to the town of Ramapo and the clerk of the Rockland County Legislature for their comment.
Okay, and with that, I'm going to read the proposed local law into the minutes. Resolution introducing proposed local law entitled "The Local Law Amending the Town of Tuxedo Zoning Map for the purpose of rezoning a property to the R2 district." Whereas the property having an address of 9 Emmanuel Drive designated as Section 217, Block 1, Lot 17 on the Town of Tuxedo tax map. The premises has had religious uses on the property since 1939, when the Sister Servants of Mary Immaculate purchased this lot as part of the Table Rock Estate. And whereas when the current owner of the premises, Watchtower Bible and Tract Society, purchased the property in August of 2021, it was zoned R2 low medium density residential. And whereas on December 13, 2021, the Town Board of the Town of Tuxedo adopted local law 6 of 2021, which adopted a new zoning code codified in Chapter 98, and whereas Local Law 6 of 2021 created a new zoning district called Conservation and rezoned the premises from R2 to Conservation, and whereas the newly enacted 98-25 Community Benefit Facility uses did not permit religious uses in the newly created Conservation District, and whereas the 2018 Comprehensive Plan Update recognized that religious uses existed on the premises and made no recommendation that such use should be prohibited on the premises with future updates to the zoning code. And whereas the town board has reviewed the 2018 comprehensive plan update and the history of the premises and believes that the religious uses should continue to be permitted on the premises as contemplated by the comprehensive plan. And whereas the town board has determined that the best method to permit religious uses on the premises is to revert its zoning classification to R2, which was its zoning classification prior to the adoption of Local Law 6 of 2021. And whereas the town board has determined that the proposed adoption of the aforementioned local law is a type 1 action pursuant to 6 NYCRR, section 617.410, as it is contiguous to a state park. And whereas the town board consents to the Town of Tuxedo Planning Board serving as lead agency under coordinated review of the action under SECRA. Now therefore be it resolved that an introductory local law entitled "A Local Law Amending the Town of Tuxedo Zoning Map for the purpose of rezoning a property to the R2 district," which local law would revert the zoning designation of the premises from C Conservation back to R2 low medium density residential, and to have the town zoning map reflect such change. Said local law is introduced by myself, supervisor, before the town board of the Town of Tuxedo and the County of Orange in the state of New York for its consideration and adoption. And be it further resolved that copies of the aforesaid proposed local law be laid upon the desk of each member of the board. And be it further resolved that the board hold a public hearing on said proposed local law at the Town Hall, 1 Temple Drive, Tuxedo, New York, at 7 p.m. on June 24, 2024. And be it further resolved that the town clerk publish or cause to be published a public notice in the official newspaper of the Town of Tuxedo of said public hearing at least 10 days prior thereto. And be it further resolved that the town clerk is directed to act as follows with respect to the proposed local law. A, to serve a copy of this resolution, the annexed proposed local law, the full environmental assessment form, and the public hearing notice to the municipal clerk of the town of Ramapo, the clerk of the Rockland County Legislature, and the Palisades Interstate Park Commission not less than 10 days prior to said public hearing as required by 98-90E. And to serve a copy of this resolution, the annex proposed local law, the full environmental assessment form, and the public hearing notice to the Orange County Department of Planning and Development for advisory review in accordance with 239-M of the New York State General Municipal Law, and to distribute a copy of this resolution, the annex proposed local law, and the public hearing notice to the Town of Tuxedo Planning Board for its review and recommendation prior to said public hearing in accordance with the provisions of 98-90A. I'd like to make a motion to, to introduce the local law and hold the public hearing at 7 o'clock on June 24th. Do I have a motion? So do I have a second? Sorry.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay. Agenda item number 2. Resolution introducing local law to override tax levy limit for fiscal year 2025 established by general municipal law. Now, I think someone asked a question about this prior. This is standard practice. Every year we do this. We can't predict what's going to happen, so we definitely don't want to be tied to whatever that tax levy limit is. And historically, it's been 1.99%, I believe, over the past several years. So we're just going to override that limit for now. And it's just like I say, pretty much every community does it just in case they need to do it for whatever financial reasons. So would you like to read the resolution, Deputy Supervisor Marsh?
I thought Deirdre was going to volunteer for that.
Want me to read it?
I'll read it. Here we go again. All right. Agenda item number 2, resolution introducing local law to override tax levy limit for fiscal year 2025 established by General Municipal Law 3C. Whereas General Municipal Law 3C establishes limits on the amount of real property taxes that may be levied by or on behalf of any local government in a given year, thereby placing a tax levy limit on municipalities. And whereas the town board believes that due to inflation, the projected expense for the fiscal year 2025 budget will increase at a rate faster than projected revenues, which will require a tax levy increase that is greater than that allowed by General Municipal Law 3C. And whereas by adoption of this local law, the town board hereby intends to override the limit on the amount of real property taxes that may be levied by the town of Tuxedo and authorize the town board to adopt a budget for fiscal year 2025 in excess of the tax levy limit as defined by General Municipal Law 3C. And whereas the adoption of this local law is authorized pursuant to General Municipal Law 3C Subdivision 5, which expressly authorizes the town board to override the tax levy limit by the adoption of a local law approved by a vote of 60% of the town board. And whereas adoption of this local law does not require the town board to exceed the tax levy limit, the town board remains free to adopt a tax levy within the limits prescribed by General Municipal Law 3C. And now therefore be it resolved that an introductory local law entitled Tax Levy Limit Override 2024 fiscal year is here introduced by myself, Deputy Supervisor Marsh, before the town board of the town of Tuxedo in County of Orange and State of New York. And be it forth resolved that the town board hereby determines that the aforementioned local law is a type 2 action as defined in 6 NYCRR 617.5 C26. And accordingly, the town board hereby expressly determines that this action does not require review pursuant to the provisions of the New York State Environmental Quality Review Act. And be it further resolved that copies of the aforesaid proposed local law be laid upon the desk of each board member, and be it further resolved that the town board hereby schedules a public hearing on said proposed local law at the Town Hall, Tuxedo, New York at 7 p.m. on June 24th, 2024. And be it further resolved that the town clerk shall publish or cause to be published a public notice in the official newspaper of the town of Tuxedo and said public hearing at least 5 days prior thereto.
Okay, you would just make a motion.
Do I?
To introduce
have
the
a
local law.
Motion to introduce this local law.
Second.
Okay, make a motion, second, discussion?
No
All in
discussion.
favor?
Aye. Okay, based on some comments, especially from the mayor and some other people that I've talked to today in regards to Route 209, Route 17. I think it's been a while since we've visited this subject. I think that when we went through this, to get the environmental review done, to get the appraisal done, by the way, correction on that, it's 550,000, the appraisal came in at 600, built out 1.1 million, all right? So just so we have that straight for the record, 575 was the number advised by our council, just to make sure we had enough in case there was some ancillary expenses, so we can borrow up to 575, but really it's 550. And I understand that there's been some concerns. It's been a length of time since that building has been anything useful, but it certainly plays into our revitalization. And I think in all fairness and responsibility from this board that we need to compile that presentation and provide that to the public before we vote on number 3 and 4. I think that's the most responsible thing we could do at this time. Do I have concurrence from the board?
100%.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, so we're gonna strike 3 and 4. We're just gonna move them off until we can accommodate, and we want to make sure that you guys consume and with an open mind of what our plan is here, because that particular piece of property actually is critical skin in the game for the New York Moving Forward grant. But once again, until we can portray that entire story to you, I feel we drop the subject for now until we put it back on the agenda. Fair enough? Okay. Number 5, Rick, you could take that since you're working on that.
Got you up here. Let me talk about it real quick before we go into it. Last week during the heat wave, we had one of our air conditioners break in the meeting hall, as anybody that came to the revitalization meeting probably could attest to. It was extremely hot in here. It was 81 degrees.
It is now.
Everybody was sitting. This is
Still not
beautiful. You
fixed.
kidding me? I'd take this any day. We bought fans. People were sitting at their desks sweating. We made a decision that we have to get this moving forward. We do still have ARPA money left, so it's not coming out of budgets. It's coming out of the ARPA fund. We had the guy come in to give us, well, we had 2 companies come in to give us an appraisal. The units are 37 years old. So we got our money's worth out of them. They spec'd them out as is because they testified to, obviously, when they put them in right because they weren't being overused. You got 37 years of use out of them. So we're hoping that using the same ones, we're gonna be good for replacing them. So again, this is not coming out of budget. This is coming out of ARPA money. And we gotta read this whole resolution?
No, you don't
Okay,
have to.
good. I'd like to make-
Only for the local laws.
I'd like to make a motion that the board approves. Does the money, is the money in there, Bryce? Yeah, $34,049 to replace 2 5-ton air conditioning units, one to cover the meeting room and one to cover the office spaces of the upstairs with Lennox units. I'll talk about that in the discussion. So I make a motion to spend $34,049 out of ARPA funds. Do I have a second?
Second.
Okay. Second for a discussion item before we vote. Forgot what I was gonna say now.
Aye.
Yeah, aye.
Yeah.
Oh, the units, they're Lennox units. They come with a 3-year service plan that they'll service all of our air conditionings in this building, because we do have another one that takes care of the downstairs. And it comes with a 10-year warranty, manufacturer's warranty on the Lennox products. The company putting it in is Gold Metal. They back the units to the point where they'll pay for any labor as well. They take the units out, they deal with the warranties, and they put in a new unit for us at no cost. So pretty much 10 years on that. So do I have a,
Question.
yes. Oh, sorry. Question.
I'm curious, because, I have a background in AC, and I was curious, I have a Lennox in my house, and it's, 35 years old. And, it was built to a good standard. I was just curious what the failure was.
I don't know that answer. The one-
37 years.
Yeah, the one that was here failed. While they were here, they were working on it, and ironically, the next day, the other one said, well, if that one's breaking, I want to break too. So
It
that
was-
one went down and it was freezing up to the point where we were shutting it off at night, so it would defrost in the morning and we could run it until it would freeze up again. So he said it could be leaks, it could be,
It sounds like
yeah.
a Freon light.
So he's saying that this one was done, failed total. You're in the middle of doing it. You're gonna put a Band-Aid on a 37-year-old unit. You have the ARPA money. In our minds is we could replace it now
It's grant
before it
money,
comes
not
out of
taxpayer
No, no,
money.
I
before it comes out of
understand.
taxpayer
I
money.
look at the engineering because what has happened over the years, because, more so in say in Florida, they go through air conditioners and they keep changing the standards. And what they do is they no longer use copper, they use, some aluminum alloy. And what they've done is they thinned out the walls and the gases that they use now run at very high pressures, which, eventually causes leaks. Just from a design standpoint, that's all I'm saying. But you got the money?
Yeah,
Go for it.
so that's where we stand on that.
Aye.
Votes?
Aye.
Aye. Aye. Thank you.
Okay, Deirdre, take number 6.
Sure. In 2022, or 2022 or 2023, Mary Gretzer had asked if we could look into making a safety zone, a school zone in front of the campus of the Tuxedo Union Free School District, which we applied. And the New York State DOT denied us the ability to change the school zone. But they did allow us to put in flashing lights for the north and southbound sides of Route 17 for pedestrians or for cars to slow down. So Rob has we've gotten a permit, we've gotten through all of the DOT obligations, and Rob has gotten a price to do a solar powered flashing beacon light that we can install where there had been one in the past. And that would be on the northbound side of Route 17. And we are looking into doing one on the southbound side. However, at this point, it's all private property, so we have to, that takes yet another site plans, et cetera. So we decided to just get something done at this point, we were gonna do the northbound side. So the cost for that is approximately $2,400. What is it? I don't have. it.
$2,378.60.
Thank you. And so we want to have approval to purchase that so that the highway department can install this flashing beacon.
I think it's absolutely a
For our
critical
children.
safety device that's been missing for a while, so
Yeah.
certainly.
The only question I had was where is it coming from? And it states that it's gonna be coming out of traffic control line item A33 10-4. We do have money in that line item, Carrie, for it? Okay.
Yay, a line item. That makes me so
That's
excited.
awesome.
I can't tell you.
How about that, right?
You mean it's not coming out of the general fund?
We have
Okay.
a fund.
That's
We have
really great.
We had $10,000 in there. We put a guardrail in the East Village
Okay.
for approximately $2,500 and we should have
Okay, make the
around
motion.
I make the
$7,000.
motion that we make the purchase. Do I have a
Second.
second? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Thank you.
Okay, agenda item number 7, resolution authorizing agreement with Renaissance Fair for provision of police services. Now, we have a contract for that the attorney looked over. It was satisfactory. It's a standard fare that we've been doing for the past few years where the police department offers services in return for a negotiated sum of money. We reviewed that with the chief, correct?
Mhm.
And he was satisfied with it. So I'd like to make a motion to authorize an agreement with the Renaissance Fair for provision of police services. Do I have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
And this will be yours, number 8.
Resolution authorizing appointment of building inspector 3/code enforcement officer. For the last pretty much since I've been here, we have been interviewing candidates for a building inspector for the town. Currently, we have that contracted out with a third party. Took us a while to find the candidate that we thought would be a good fit, but we finally have found that person, Robert Brady. So I would like to make a motion to, like I said.
Hire Robert Brady.
Yeah, hire Robert,
Hire
yeah.
Robert Brady
Appoint.
as full-time building inspector for the town of Tuxedo.
Second?
Do we have to
have
state a
discussion.
salary and hours?
Well, we'd like some discussion here.
Well, I,
first, so.
yeah, on discussion, I'd like to say
So
after we
it's
make the motion, but we have to make the motion that we're gonna do Robert Brady at hours and in salary
We
first.
have a motion.
Motion,
But we didn't
at
mention-
$38.50 an hour at 35 hours a week.
That's full-time civil service.
Full-time civil service, and that would include benefits.
Correct.
Okay.
Now we can go out to discussion.
Okay, so one of the reasons for the change was not the performance of the current building inspector. He's a great building inspector, by the way. The problem is that the last board only left us 6 months' worth of money to pay for him because they're paying the contractor $125 an hour. Compared to 38, what are we paying? Okay, so we ran out of money technically in that one budget line. I mean, the contractor, once again, great service. Kudos to the guy who was doing it. But this guy is well qualified, well vetted, and becomes well recommended with some great references. I met him
Several
today.
references
We
that
met him
we
today.
spoke to.
He's looking forward to start as quick as possible, and we're gonna say Wednesday, I guess, according to this. So I know that there was some misunderstanding in the public that we were terminating this guy and bringing in a part-timer. I assure you, we can't afford to do that. We have to have a full-time building inspector. Something else to note is that when the farm starts to build, which I believe in the next 30 days, Rick, we're gonna get several hundred or 150 building applications, that Lennar is going to pay for those services directly. So we will bill them against the time for our building inspectors spent on their properties. So that's good. They're helping to offset the cost. If at the time that we find that we need additional help in the building department, we will, through our liaison over here, determine whether or not that workforce needs to be re-imaged and looked at and to see if we need some help, whether it's a clerk or it's a part-time building inspector to help take the weight off the full-time one. Just to make sure everybody's all level set on, we didn't just arbitrarily get rid of this guy and no, we're not hiring a part-timer in his place. I gotta say that the building department has come a long ways this year with the long form accusatory instruments and stuff in the code. Especially with the help of Jim Horan over there, with some issues that we have around town that give us a lot more teeth on issues than we used to have prior. So this is all good stuff, and the delivery of the service can only get better as we go, especially with this component here. So I just
So
want
this
to make
was
sure.
a company versus an individual.
Yeah,
The
so
company
this
should
individual
expensive
will
than-
work for the town.
Exactly.
whereas
This is
we
an
were
employee with town that works for the town. Yes.
contracted. And it's a savings of nearly 50% to the town.
Also, I just, goes back to kind of what Rob said. You don't have to email and kill us on things, but you can reach out to us and we will explain things to people. We're trying to field several emails in reference to this, which people were kind of not fair to us by jumping right down our throats without knowing the facts. All right, we spent over 3 months interviewing numerous people, trying to find the right person to take this position, right? This guy he comes very highly qualified. He's currently a building inspector. He was hired by New York State for building inspecting, but the problem was they were gonna move him to Albany and relocate his family. He didn't want to do that. He's a code enforcer. He's all the stuff we've been looking for and fits what the town of Tuxedo
He
needs.
was a fire chief, so he
Yeah.
can do all the fire inspections.
So to insinuate we're doing something that is totally inappropriate for the town of Tuxedo is absolutely not true. We did our due diligence to make sure the person that we're replacing is gonna be 100% qualified for what we need in the town of Tuxedo. All right, yes, Fusco is expensive and we're replacing Fusco with somebody cheaper. So to answer the thing, we're acting, what is it, pound or pennies Foolish.
Penny wise, pound
Yeah,
foolish.
that is totally inaccurate. Currently, our town code does not allow for certain fines for us to, enforce, which, Chris Dolbaum's gonna be working with our new building inspector and building department to update our town codes, to increase our fines, so we can bring in not revenue, but fine people for things, which we currently cannot do, which people think we are doing, but we are going to be working on that stuff. So, please, we are trying to do the best for what's.
Yeah,
for the town
revenue
of
streams
Tuxedo.
and building code enforcement is an oxymoron. It really is, to a lot of concern, because it costs us, think of it as cost recovery. Because anytime we find anybody and then we have to bring the attorney into it and we have to go before a judge, we're just trying to get our money back to cover that, right, enforcement. So it's really not a revenue stream. I think that was a misnomer too.
So this guy, Robert Brady, is definitely gonna be a good addition to the town of Tuxedo. And we're
I
fortunate to
agree.
have him.
All right, any further discussion?
Question over here.
Sure.
I'm not questioning this gentleman Brady, but you're saying $38 an hour. I've dealt with headcount. That's the hourly wage. There's vacation, sick pay, unemployment.
Benefits, all that.
Right? When you put that package together, it's not $38 an hour. Maybe it's $75 an hour.
It comes out to be, what was the?
It's still significantly less than what we're paying for a outside contract.
Well, for the resolution, we had to put that information, but you're correct, sir. There is the other benefits, because that's considered,
The
compensation
resolution
as well.
allows us to put in payroll what we approved here. All that stuff is added absolutely into
No,
what is
because
cost.
that's what we were paying for with this other gentleman for $100 and something. His benefit package was much.
There was no benefits.
It was well over that.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
But I'm just saying, it's just a mistake. It's not
This,
$38.
doing the math, when he figured it out, it's a savings of over 50%.
Yeah.
Including
It's
the
a
benefits,
tremendous-
overtime and
Okay.
insurance, yeah,
We
absolutely.
did offer him a position, but he could not leave his position with that company to something we could not afford because of what that company is doing. So it just was not beneficial to the town. So we looked at other avenues and we found a great candidate.
Okay.
Yeah, that's pretty much what it was. Okay, any further discussion?
No? All in favor?
Aye.
Second, Dave
seconded.
second, we all yayed.
All right, so where are we here? How did I get past? I don't know what happened.
Page 14.
Page 14, okay, sorry. Agenda item number 9, resolution declaring vehicles as surplus and authorizing sale. Whereas the town of Tuxedo owns old, worn out and obsolete equipment that is too costly to repair but may have some value, and whereas the superintendent of highways, Rob Dolbaum, advised that the below listed equipment is no longer useful for town purposes, and he recommended that the surplus equipment be sold at auction. Now therefore be it resolved that the town board hereby declares that the following property is surplus and authorizes its sale. 2006 Ford F3D pickup with spreader and plow, 2008 Ford F35. Was that supposed to be a 35 at the top too? Yeah, F350. Pickup with spreader and plow.
There's another page that I missed with equipment itself.
You don't want to read all.
It's all
All right, we're not gonna read it all. We're just gonna
So
take
that
your
should
word
be
for it.
the next.
I'd like to make a motion to declare the list of vehicles as surplus and authorize the sale. Do I have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, time for other business. So that's gonna take us to Shane Bello.
If I may, just one point on the resolution is correct. So, the option here, it can be either auctioned off, or if a private party wants to buy it,
Okay,
and makes it a good offer to the highway superintendent, he's free to sell it whatever way he thinks he can get the most money.
okay.
So there's latitude, he's not constrained in just setting it for auction.
Auction permit orders, low bid.
Right.
And if you know something worth a little more.
We still doing this?
Just doing a salary.
Okay. All right, so another business, I think it was last meeting, we had hired a seasonal laborer for the highway department, Shane Bello. And we had the the hourly rate incorrect. So I would like to make a motion to amend Shane Bellows' appointment so that he should make $20.60 an hour. Do I have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, now we're gonna move to the farmer's market as other business. So we had a meeting with the farmer's market. There was some things that well, first of all, we've never met the operators and there's been a change of hands in the past few years. So we asked them to kindly come in. Wonderful people. Basically, we just wanted to go over some things. In the past, there was like no application for doing the farmer's market. There was no, at least evidence of any liability insurance, rider, so on and so forth. We don't need to go down the big list, but so we worked with them. They actually have a great spreadsheet of information that they keep for their vendors, so that gave us a warm fuzzy that all the vendors that they select, or they have Department of Health certificates for their goods. Very
All been
important.
vetted very strictly through their own process.
Right, they're highly vetted strictly through their own process, which was good for us. We wanted to hear that, because we love our farmer's market. We had no intention of getting rid of it, but this is kind of a compliancy thing. We have to make sure we have all this paperwork right. So we came away with a couple things that we have to approve today. The first thing is the use of the bathroom. So generally speaking, well, let's just say it like this. There's a $400 fee to rent the train station on a daily basis, and it comes with the bathrooms. Additional hours are $100. Let's talk about whether or not we as a town board wish to waive the fee to the farmer's market. Yes or no?
I do. I think we should.
I
waive it.
agree.
I agree.
I agree. I just, I think that maybe there's some discussion in the future. We are locking up the train station from those hours on those dates. So for this year, I think, with the shortness in time from which they're starting, I'm in agreement with it, but I think in future years, maybe we discuss something at a different rate, since they're really not using the building, they're using the parking lot, something. to
And
that effect.
so you're saying it's taking it out of service in case that we did get a
Somebody
full
that wanted to
event
use
or
it,
something.
right?
I
And I don't
can't
think
disagree.
that $400 a weekend, every weekend for that amount of time is appropriate. But maybe something.
Should be a-
Just
what
also,
about a
so you know,
cleaning
we
fee?
saw their schedule. They charge each one of their vendors $400 a person for the entire year that they're here for the farmer's market.
Right.
There's 16 to 18 vendors that are at the farmer's market. There's only up to 12, I think that she said 12 or something like that, every weekend, with other ones that rotate in and out. So they may have one pottery person on this Saturday, a different pottery person the next Saturday, but total of 16 to 18 vendors. So adding that up, $400 a vendor for the entire season, they would not,
Right.
they
So-
would leave the town of Tuxedo. They
So-
would not be able to.
So
to
I
do that.
think that, like I said, for this season, right, I'm sure they have everything in place on their end, right? Changing that for them would be an issue. I think future seasons, it's something that we should have a discussion with them.
That's one of the
Not
things-
trying to kill anyone.
And-
Do not
and-
want
and
the
I think
farmer's
that's a fair
market-
statement.
Do not want the farmer's market to go anywhere.
Yeah, we mentioned that to him today. We said, this meeting should have happened in February. Because she starts building her list of vendors and everything back in February and solidifies them in March. And we're here the week before the farmer's market asking for an insurance policy.
Right.
And last year it didn't come until mid-August. So we're like, how can you do that right next to the highway like that?
Yeah.
God forbid something were ever to happen, we need insurance on policy, on file. And that's what we said, next year, this isn't gonna happen. Come February, we now have a working relationship with them. We can meet in February, we could start discussing what is required for the 25 farmer's market. I mean, everybody here, everybody knows in town, it's very well received by the town, and we wanna work with them.
Yeah,
So
and
it's
let
something
me
we
just
can-
preface that whole thing by saying thank you to Carrie Alley. Carrie Alley is our administrative supervisor here at the town hall. If you've been attending some of the meetings, you may have noticed that we've created that position, which is very critical, because it's kind of, it's kind of a hub of the wheel in the town hall. So. Say again?
Somebody-
Anyway, introducing you to Carrie Alley, our administrative supervisor. Take a bow.
Sounds like somebody's not impressed, Gary.
She's the person who's bringing all these things to our attention, which, you know, we probably realized, but then we got in the weeds on something else. So it's a very critical role she performs. And thank you so much, Carrie, for keeping us out of trouble. All right. So anyway, so are we going to be okay with, everybody's good with waiving the fee for the farmer's market?
We never
Okay.
charged before, correct?
I'd like to make a motion to waive the fee for the farmer's market for the calendar year 2024 season. Do I have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. The second thing that goes along with that is the use of the bathroom. So we've, as everyone knows, we've had ad nauseum conversations about the, you know, the vandalism that occurs down there. So we're quite concerned as to what would happen in this particular, you know, venue. So we talked with the vendor or the organizers of the Ren Fair, the farmer's market, and determined that it would be feasible for the two owners, and the owner and her business partner, to maintain control of the key by themselves. And the only people that would be able to use the facility would be the vendors, okay? So what do you guys think of that?
I agree with it.
What do you think of it? You're the one that's dealing with it all the time.
We're not dealing with it.
No, there's nothing to deal with. She's gonna have the key. She's the only one that allows the key to the bathrooms to be opened. She even said that when trains are coming in, if one of the vendors come and said, I need to go to the bathroom, she says, wait till the train platform clears and the train leaves. She goes over, opens it,
It's all
and
good,
they lock it.
well and good, Rick, and, you know, everybody tells you everything they want to hear when they want something. That's not the case, and it hasn't been since it started, and we'll leave it at that. I don't care what you do, but I know the highway department will not come there and fix anything or clean it.
Okay, all right, fair enough. Which brings me to the number three, which includes that.
Though, that maybe we could put something in there.
Well, wait, that's where we're going next. So to Jim, we need to have a discussion after this meeting because we do not, we're missing a vendor permit application and it should, all those contents should be within it, right? And there's gonna be bullet points all the way down. It's gonna be the term of the season. It's gonna be how many vendors. It's gonna be, let me see your spreadsheet to make sure everything is vetted. It's gonna be control of the key, access, right? It will all be built into the contract, so they'll be held liable if something happens. We need to make it clear in the contract language, and everybody should be good. But I mean, right now, they're going across to the library, and, you know, it's kind of a hard situation for them to run this is including the vendors, right? So it's close by, I get it, and the library is very open to let them use it, but then they have to cross the street. There's all kinds of traffic going around. And I don't see why this would be a hindrance to keeping the bathroom from being vandalized. I mean,
Would something like a security deposit make sense?
I don't know. That's why we're gonna hand it over to Jim and he can, you know, do his magic on it, send it back to us for review. But in the meantime, this is all gonna be, but we're approving this tonight for a Saturday beginning of the farmer's market. So all this is gonna be subsequent, right? So we're gonna still have to execute this contract as this farmer's market starts up. But Carrie hit all the critical bullet points that we need to make sure we're not exposing liability right now, okay? Which was key to even opening on Saturday, because we told them unless we have these items, we can't help you. We have to have this, we have to have your insurance riders and more information. So we did that. Do you feel safe that that was okay decision and we can follow up with the agreement subsequently? Okay. Everybody agrees to that? Okay. Then I'd like to make a motion that well, there is no motion because we don't have a resolution. Go ahead.
So, you.
I know it's not a wonderful solution, but last year the town rented Porta-John to be there. That was for use by both the vendors and the customers.
That was because the train station was being revitalized. It wasn't for the farmer's market, just because it was being revitalized.
Well, it still could be a solution. So people don't go across the library.
And-
can actually use those bathrooms?
Well,
Ever?
Well, then that's our point, right? I mean, in this case of a controlled
Anybody
environmental
that rents
access.
the train station could use those bathrooms. The people on the train, ask them how many other train stops they have on this track. Of any one of these tracks, from where the beginning to where it ends, how many bathrooms are they able to use? Zero. Yeah, Tuxedo right now, well, hasn't, but for the last 8 months has been locked. Prior to that, it was open and we were receiving vandalism in them multiple times a year.
Yeah.
So we're gonna comply with everybody else on the same line.
And there's a bathroom on the train. But it is a feature of renting the space at the town, at the train station.
Well, then what's the purpose of that side, right? It wasn't-
Right, so technically, we would have charged them a fee, but we're waiving it. So should they still have access to the bathroom as long as it's controlled? I
And
mean,
that's what we're agreeing on. We're agreeing to allow the vendors to go there and use the bathroom.
right,
Yeah. And then the people that need to go to the bathroom go to two places, right? They go across the street, middle of the building, upstairs, on the second floor, or they go to the library.
And we've been having complaints about people that are being, their bathrooms are getting used now because there's no other bathrooms.
Yes.
So, I mean, do we want to see porta potties lined up in the middle of our town on the weekends?
I mean, I don't see a problem with an agreement that indemnifies us from any damage. I mean, if, like he said, his main goal is, he's tired of seeing the damage over there and cleaning up, wads and wads of paper stuffed down the thing and all this stuff, but we have a cleaning service for that, so you guys don't have to, your main thing is repairing the damage.
yeah,
Right.
ripping the sink off
So
the
if we
wall.
can,
Flush toilet or filled the toilet paper,
Right.
toilet with toilet paper.
I know.
Breaks the handle so it runs and floods the floor. That's not normal behavior.
no, obviously it is not, yeah.
Nothing hits the floor.
Well, and that's why we're saying, if we have a contract that states that they're liable for the damage when the key is under their control, right? Because then they're tied in. Jim?
Yeah, the only thing is you probably have to have somebody.
Inspection.
Inspect, okay, so we'd have to have some sort of
Yeah, well,
handover.
they should inspect at the end of every session.
Yeah.
100%.
Who's gonna do that?
The people who we waived the fee to, the
Okay,
people in charge.
But then you're trusting them. No, it wasn't us.
Let them take pictures, before and after.
No, somebody has to,
They have
make
to
sure that
monitor
no
it.
damage was done, but at the end of the, each
Mhm.
Saturday session.
right,
And it would have to be someone in the town, because you're not gonna have the fox check the hen house.
Not trying to be a hornets, but what happens is that if somebody that's buying something says, can you go just leave and they leave the door open.
oh, yeah,
Now
so
they don't know who's going in.
you're talking tailgating, yeah.
Yeah.
And it gets to be.
Well, like I said, if we tighten the language up in the contract and we find it egregious behavior, then we'll just pull that access back and we'll make them pay for the damages or what the cleaning costs at our discretion. So keep that in mind when you, write the contract. Okay, perfect. So there we go. Let's see, was there anything else I left off on that?
Thanks, Adam, to that. So the understanding with the farmer's market before it was that they're going to go in, if it's approved by the town board, they're gonna go in prior to the farmer's market. They're gonna notify us if there's something amiss before they go in. The owner, and Rob, maybe you can give us a little bit of background. During COVID, she said this is how it worked. She said they only got to keep, they only allowed themselves and the vendors in and out, and she inspected at the end. So did you see any problems during that time?
Don't know. I don't know.
Okay,
Okay, and they do have $100,000 rider on their insurance policy to cover town property. Yeah, as well.
they do, verified.
And named as an additional insured.
Correct.
Yes. Okay, next one is resolution authorizing appointment of clerk to the justice and assistant court clerk part-time. So this is going to be Tracy, right? I forgot, there's a lot of moving around since Claire retired, so. Say again?
It's right here. Now,
Page 50.
now they're for be it resolved as follows. One,
Okay,
the
well,
town
take
board
it,
will-
take it.
sorry, this is for both, they're entering the same resolution.
Yeah, so I'll just read this.
Just
and
go
it'll
ahead.
cover it. As follows. Number one, the town board with consent of town justice appoint Tracy Peplowski as a full-time clerk to town justice Elise McCatherine, an exempt civil service position with her compensation at the rate of $29 per hour. Number two, the town board with consent of the town justice appoints Claire Scalini as part-time assistant clerk up to 17 and a half hours per week with her compensation at the rate of $31.80 per hour, effective June 17th, 2024. This appointment is non-competitive in accordance with the Orange County Civil Service rules. Number three, the above appointments are subject to the approval of the Orange County Department of Human Resources and are further subject to civil service law, the rules of New York State, and the Orange County Civil Service rules. Number four, the appointment of the part-time assistant court clerk is subject to a probationary term of not less than 8 nor more than 26 weeks in accordance with the Orange County Civil Service rules. Number five, all necessary documents for the appointments shall be filed with the Orange County Department of Human Resources and with the New York State Office of Court Administration as required. Number six, this resolution shall take effect immediately. Okay, make a resolution, do as I just read.
Second.
Any discussion?
Nope.
Nope.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All right, next on the town supervisor, town board updates. You guys have anything? Starting with you, Chris?
Nothing tonight.
Rick?
Sure, Deirdre's got some.
Well, we had our open meeting on Hamlet revitalization, and although we only had one more meeting scheduled, which would present a plan, we decided to have yet another workshop because it was so well attended. And the group will come back with basically taking into consideration all of the different comments that they received with other options so that we can again take a look at the entire plan and come up with a final plan. So that is to be determined, but right now we have the survey that's on the website and also face page. Thank you, Marissa. We are getting responses, and it's very important we get people's responses because if people don't like it, we have to find solutions. And if you do like it, that's great, but we do need to know. So that's my spiel for the evening.
Okay, I got, I'd just like to, Kathleen has already left. I believe she did mention it already, the fishing derby that took place this past weekend. Thank you very much for allowing us to utilize the pond once again, Josh. It was outstanding. You guys came forth for us again. Marissa, thank you for all the work that you put into it. Unfortunately, you were sick and weren't able to attend, but everybody that had a hands in it, Maria, you guys, outstanding job. I love what you're doing with recreation in town. It's awesome. The blood drive that we had, we needed 18, we got 26. So kudos Tuxedo. We're also having another blood drive come the fall for Senator Skoufis. It'll be in the same room. Hopefully we could all come out and support that as well. Defibrillators, it's over there in the case on the ground. I'm just waiting to get it attached to the wall. There's one downstairs outside the courtroom and the other two will be going in the train station and into the highway garage, hopefully by the end of the week. There's a programming sequence I got to do with them. So 2 are active. The other 2, hopefully by the end of the week, will be in. The concert this weekend, Saturday, looks like it's going to be great weather. Please, everybody come out. It's going to be a great time. We got like 5 food trucks, a beer truck. Bring your chairs, your coolers, bug spray. And the concert's from 5 p.m. to 8 p.m. Come out, please. It's, we need to get a good support here. It's going to be a good concert. Go ahead.
By the way, you can stop at the Historical Society on Saturday between 12 and 4 before the concert and take a look at the beautiful exhibit that they just built over there. It's a beautiful facility and it gives you an opportunity to get 2 things in one day in Tuxedo. So
Russ, you had something?
How much are these bands charging?
The one was 1,200 and the other one was like 1,500. We did a modification early in the year. We took some money out of street lighting, which was to replace if we need be, and we paid for it out of that. But to go along with what you just asked, I'm proud to announce, we just found out this morning, we got a grant for $4,995 from Orange County Tourism to hold another fall concert. So hopefully our 2 summer concerts go through successfully and we could carry that through. We got a couple plans for how that's gonna lay out. But we have to use it before October 28th, I believe. But we do have approximately $5,000 to put towards a fall concert. So we're looking forward to that. And that's all I have.
Is it true that the Boy Scouts also are serving food?
Yes, absolutely. Boy Scouts are gonna be selling hot dogs and sodas and waters. We got New York Wings are gonna be there. Hold on.
Got the
I
beer
the thing here.
truck.
Apex Beer. We got, oh boy, geez. Here we go. We got Apex, we got Mama La Rosa Mobile Pizza, Crave New York Wings, Rockland Kettle Corn, Hungarican Hotspot, Boy Scouts, and one other, the waffle, chicken and waffle. Wicked Waffles. So come out. It's gonna be a great time. Let's enjoy our parks.
Amen.
An extra poster, because the one I put in the Southfield post office, somebody got.
Thought you didn't get that? I thought we got
Well,
that.
that's a good thing.
And if you're,
It's good, you know.
if you're leaving here tonight and you're going northbound, you'll notice a huge sign by, the East Village. We had Orange County Office of Emergency Management donate a digital sign for us to advertise that concert this week only. It'll be gone by Sunday, hopefully. But we're just trying to encourage people to come out, so.
Okay, is everybody good?
Yep.
All right, I'd like to make a motion to accept the minutes of the regular bi-monthly town board meeting held on May 29, 2024. Do I have a second?
Second.
All in favor? Next, I'd like to make a motion to, wait a minute, where are we here? I'd like to make a motion to pay the following vouchers haven't been ordered by the town board. That's the total. Claim numbers are last 43349 through 3406 for a total of $292,187.18. Do I have a second?
Second.
Okay, public comments. Floor is open. Yes, ma'am.
Seems like we did that throughout the whole meeting.
Very quickly, I'm glad about the school zone sign. I'm glad that we have speed signs coming into town. As I was traveling north on 17 and making a left turn into my street, a car passing me on the right set the sign off at 57 miles an hour.
Whoa.
So it appears to be just a suggestion until it's enforced.
Right.
Well, I have to stick up for the police department. They've more than doubled their tickets over the last month, so
I hope that
they are,
continues.
and we do too. Mentioning that sign, Rob, I mentioned to Lisa, I don't know if she told you or we contacted state or whatever, but that sign, the bushes are starting to grow up over. I don't know if you had a chance or.
That talking about the rock coming down on the right side as you're heading south.
Yeah.
Talking about both of them.
Okay. Yeah, if we just keep on them, maybe. Yeah. Whatever we can do. Thanks.
Any other comments? Claudia?
Sorry, probably not today. Just to go back to the comment you made earlier, like, I guess you got emails and misinformation was sent out and whatnot. I have no idea who sent them. I don't care who did. But I'm wondering if there's a different way to work with the agenda items when they pop up. Is there somewhere that we can look? Because, the rumor mill goes crazy. Right? You see this and you're like, okay, what's
We
that?"
could tell what everybody thought, when they
No,
were
but no, I mean,
sending
obviously,
emails,
this
but-
invites thought.
Mhm.
So maybe there's a way that we,
Generally speaking, we have that under control. This week they're very dynamic, I think, by the
We
time we
didn't
got
get
the
most of the
agenda
resolutions
assembled.
until like 1 o'clock
Yeah,
this
we
morning,
didn't, so we couldn't even post them
There's a
prior.
lot of moving parts here.
But we will always describe them to you, and you conspicuously post all that stuff when you have it in advance
Yeah,
with your
so
meeting minutes, so, I'm
on-
sorry, your meeting agenda.
On our website, if you go under town board, and there's a subcategory board packets.
Oh,
So that's
packets,
board
okay.
packets, what,
Yeah, it's the whole
I
thing.
wasn't
we
sure if
use
that
up
was
here.
even open to anybody.
It was posted this morning and it was right after the board got it. So the board,
Yeah, it was
Okay, so
kind of
that's
a
gonna be
one-off
good.
situation.
yeah. So
Uh,
it should
Claudia,
definitely be
this
there
was
the
really
day of the
dynamic.
meeting.
So many things were
Yes.
being done and changed and reviewed by the attorneys and back and forth to meet the deadline. So I apologize for
No,
that.
no,
That's
no,
a
no,
rare
no.
occasion.
Just wondering how, I mean, that's helpful, right? The
Yeah.
second thing was, so I was on Facebook, the last 2 days as was, as you were, in regards to the power situation and changing. And I'm wondering if can we direct them to somebody to discuss? Because people we had all these meetings.
There's a phone number.
Everybody,
Yeah,
had
that's a-
opportunity. We had
Yeah,
meetings
there's,
up,
there's definitely the phone number's on the website.
no,
Chris Casker is our point of contact.
Okay,
So any emails or anything, direct them to Chris. And you can find his email at ccasker@tuxedo.
because there seems to be a lot of misinformation out there and people just take this to the next level. I mean, you don't have to have this. You opt out. That's it. You don't have to get excited about it.
Yeah, it's really.
Chris is very educated in this subject, and there's a number on there. If Chris doesn't have your answers, you
I
can
mean,
always call
you-
that
you had
number.
some-
I tried today to put out some information to help put folks at ease.
Yep.
Know that
I saw your
Several-
responses,
several- Facebook groups, there was some turmoil,
yes.
but
Surprise.
Yeah.
I tried to do the best I could with that.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, and, I mean, we've had, how many meetings did we have about the community power thing?
Before my time.
It's even before, like,
Before my time.
people don't come to the meetings
If I may.
and they don't,
for
go
the-
ahead.
For the board and the public, really, it's a problem with the way the states has adopted the regulations. And it's designed as an opt-out. It probably should have been an opt-in.
I agree. Said that from the beginning.
And that's the reason why, and this is an issue that happens in 2 or 3 municipalities that I've represented in, across the river in Dutchess County, and they've had the same situation, so, eventually, and it always happens at the front end, it sorts itself out. It's basically a one-time thing, once the program goes into place, and then, like anything, the bugs get worked out, but, yeah, it's unfortunate it's an opt-out rather than an opt-in.
Yeah, and that was part of our,
And also as
Problem.
citizens, we have the responsibility to get ourselves smart, right? I mean, at nauseam, we have presentations,
right.
5, 6,
Absolutely.
7, I don't know, for years.
That's very true, but as well
Not
as we
everyone
do,
pays attention
not
to
everybody
board
does.
meetings and.
They don't, yeah. And even if we sent them like every door direct mail, they go, oh, garbage, just
Well,
like they probably
that's-
did their Jewel Power. through that.
I know that I saw on Facebook today, multiple people say they got the card, they just threw it away. Like, I'm not doing that.
Yeah.
I'm throwing it away, not realizing that they're.
That it was
automatically
opt-out.
billed. Right.
But the animal, I mean, just read your mail.
Maybe it should be clear on the envelope.
It is.
Well, yeah.
Is it?
Do not throw out.
Oh,
Yeah, that's pretty clear.
I don't know. My wife
haven't- I
opened it and
haven't
handed it to
gotten
me,
one yet,
and I
so-
opened up the card and I sent it back in. So, all right.
Sign permit for the farmer's market.
There's an article in the
Oh.
Herald, Journal River that, on our racing rate. So, I don't know.
I did read something, O&R is gonna be raising rates to meet the green energy.
They are.
We should
yeah.
keep an eye on that and see whether that.
Yeah, I mean, the way I look at it is.
Like a fixed rate
Right
mortgage
now-
or a variable rate
Right now,
mortgage?
I'm going to opt out. If over the course of the next 16 months, O&R goes through the roof, I'll opt in.
Yeah, you.
And it's an option, right? The rate won't change there, and if it does, generally speaking, December, January, February, my O&R bill is through the roof. Right now, through October, pretty cheap. So, something to think about. I mean, it gives you an additional option that you may not have had.
You
would
don't
not
opt out, they're automatically gonna push you in.
Right.
And if you do your homework and look on the internet, how many people has been screwed by this? They had to get lawyers to get out and everything else, their bills went up over 30%.
This is not that.
Lawyers to get out.
So-
That's
That's not this.
Not this. This is sponsored by the state of New York.
You're gonna opt out at any
You
time.
can
and it
opt
takes
out
up
at
to
any
30
time
days.
for any reason.
Yeah. This is
So-
not that program. I've actually been in that program and I know what you're talking about. But no, this is not this. This is a guaranteed program, which is a fixed rate for the next, what,
16 months.
16 months?
Mhm.
Yeah.
And
And you
do-
can get out at any time.
I'm
Or
out.
get in at any time.
Who's your buddy, Jerry?
You can go back and forth month to month. Russ,
Yes.
If you so choose.
All right, I'm sorry, I left out one critical thing we have to do. I forgot about the farmer's market, signs. So there was 3 of them?
Yes, I believe.
Okay, go ahead, make a motion. Okay, I'd like to make a motion to allow the farmer's market to deploy 3 signs for that, I guess they say farmer's market open June through October. Do I have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay, we're back to public comments. Anybody else in the room with a public comment? I'm going to Zoom next.
Everybody's.
Okay,
Guys,
anybody
guys,
online?
guys.
Yeah, hold it down for a minute. Anybody online have any public comments? Mary, Evelyn?
Not for me.
Okay, Evelyn? Give her a minute.
I don't think she's on.
Oh, I thought that's her number right there. I don't have my glasses. Okay, then with that
Well,
said,
I'll have a comment. Can you hear me?
yes,
Oh, good. I was trying to unmute myself earlier when there was a Q&A about the community choice aggregation. This is Michelle Lindsay. I'm chair of the Climate Smart Committee. And I'm very happy to hear the comments because I think it will help us to redirect the message once again. We were warned by Jewel that this flurry of negativity will happen as soon as people get their mailing. So it was well anticipated. And as you say, we've been talking about this since 2019. We did not adopt the program until now because the rates were not advantageous. And I hope that the board will support the program. I think if you calculate the difference between the fossil fuel charges and the renewable, it's not that much in dollar terms, and you're supporting the mission of the state of New York. So
right,
if you have
thank you,
any other
Michelle.
questions, I know
Thank you,
that Chris
Michelle.
Casper, okay.
appreciate it. Okay, I'd like to make a motion to adjourn the meeting at 9:42. Do I have a second? All in favor? It's a wrap. So that'll give us a chance.